like to call this June 27th Northfield Township Board to order for regular meeting. Please stand for the pledge.
Of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Please call the roll, Ms. Manley.
Beliger.
Here.
Dockett.
Here.
Zelenak.
Present.
Chockley.
Here.
Manley. Here. Otto.
Here.
Chick.
Here.
Okay, we have everyone here. We have a quorum. Like a motion to adopt the balance of the agenda as presented.
I would like to make some changes.
Okay. What do you suggest?
For number 1 on the Township Manager employment agreement and salary, what I'd like to do is just put for the Township Manager and have 3 bullets, because there's certain things that we need to address. One is, under 1, we should have an A, Township Manager job description as amended by the labor attorney. And then the agreement, and then the salary. Agreement is B, and then the salary is C.
Okay.
Madam Supervisor, if I may.
Yes, go ahead, Mr. Maines.
For item 8, the Synagro sludge hauler contract renewal should be Synagro sludge hauler contract assignment approval. I apologize. Should be Synagro sludge hauler contract assignment approval. Thank you, Ms.
Okay.
Lumble.
Okay. Thank you for that correction. Any other changes? Okay, so I guess I would like to make a motion to adopt the balance of the agenda as amended.
I support.
Okay, motion by Chockley, support by Beliger. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
I'll ask for a roll call vote, please.
Oh, okay. Roll call vote, Ms. Manley.
Chick.
Yes.
Beliger.
Yes.
Otto.
Yes.
Zelenak.
No.
Dockett.
Yes.
Manley. Yes. Chockley.
Yes. Would you like to share what the no was, or?
Again, I don't like the practice of changing the agendas at the meetings.
Okay,
I
thank
think
you.
we need to, be more disciplined.
Okay.
I
thank you.
think the discipline has to be that you ask the board first about what needs to be on the agenda before the agenda goes out. That's the problem.
Okay, so that amended agenda passed. Call to the public. Do we have anyone who would like to speak at the regular meeting of the Board of Trustees at this time? Seeing no one, we'll move on to, board member clarifications. Do we have any? There's nothing to respond to. Thank you. Correspondence and announcements. I would just like to make an announcement that I removed the appointments to the Board of Review, the DDA, and the Land Preservation Group from this. We had intended to have them on the agenda, but we didn't get very many applications. So there's some out there in the lobby if anyone's interested, or online. Please get them into me, and we will be making those appointments at our July 11th meeting. So I just wanted to make that and Parks and Rec also. Mr. Dockett.
I would like to ask a question. I know that you make the appointments for the Board of Review, for the Planning Commission.
For the DDA and the Planning Commission.
No. I think any of us can make the other. Anyone on this board can make these others. I want that understood by all of us,
Okay.
that we don't have to vote for who you appoint
That's
on
fine.
all the rest of the committees except that one. Thank you. I just
Okay.
want to make that clear, because I know some other people that want to be on the board and stay on the boards, and you don't want them on there, and you know. So I want to make sure that we get a chance to
Okay.
put the people on that we would like to have.
Make sure
Thank
they,
you.
make sure they apply. Thank you.
Thank you for what?
Make sure they apply.
Well, they don't have to apply. We can do it at the meeting. They don't have to apply. Who they applying to? This board can make that decision.
Okay.
I'm asking you. As far as I know, we can do
We
that.
are
Now, do
asking for applications to be able
Well,
to
maybe
become
you
a more
are,
professional.
but anyone on this board can not nominate someone. I want that understood, and then you can ask your lawyer there about that if you want to.
Okay.
Just so we understand each other.
Okay. I'm just letting the public know that we have openings.
Well,
So
I'm just
thank you.
letting you know how it's
Okay,
supposed
thank
to
you,
be.
Mr. Dockett.
Thank
I'd
you.
like to move on now to Township Manager, Township Manager, and we'll leave it here to Ms. Beliger to lead this portion of the agenda.
I prepared a draft employment agreement to
Pardon? Oh, no, that's the budget, so. Not yet. Okay, go ahead.
to have a starting point to begin negotiations for the township manager position for the employment agreement. But there are some areas of clarification, and the board needs to also approve the draft agreement to begin the negotiation process.
Okay.
So I've provided the draft agreement as well as, about 5 areas of additional information that the board needs to provide direction on in order to finalize the initial draft that will be the basis for negotiating with Mr. Aynes for the agreement governing his employment.
Okay. Ms. Otto.
So we did have in the agreement a amended township manager position, and that was never approved by the board. The initial one was approved on April 25th.
Right, this.
And under that approval, it stated that the job description on April 25th, that the job description about whether to specifically include under job duties to include the implementing of the master plan, which it did, but it also said that subject to review and approval by Labor Council with additional of implementing the master plan under responsibilities. It never came back to the board
Okay.
to show her amendments. So the whole summary was changed. There were changes to the summary that the board has not seen. That was proposed in April 25th. And that addition, which we all agree, that we all agreed that the master plan should be included on the job description, has been included, but the summary had been changed, and the board had not seen it. So we do need to approve the amended job description.
Is that this one?
That's the new one that was attached to the agreement.
Okay. Thank you for catching that. Would you like to make a motion that we approve it?
Yeah, I would like
Okay.
to make the motion to approve the amended job description. I would also like to include on that job description that the township manager reports to the township board.
I support.
It's not in there? No.
In the job description?
You support?
Okay. So, is that a change that you need to
That
make
would
to
be a
this?
change. That would be an added bullet or a change or even
Okay.
a sentence that would be added to this.
Okay. Where would you like to add that?
At the end. You can add it at the end if you want.
Okay.
Well, it is. It is on here. It's
It
at
is,
the
I
very end. So, okay. Then I'll accept it as it is.
Okay. That looks appropriate then. Okay. So you are making a motion to adopt this job description as amended and distributed to the board, is that correct?
Right.
Okay.
I support.
Okay, so we have a motion by Otto, support by Beliger. Let's have a roll call on that, please.
Chick,
Yes.
Beliger,
Yes.
Otto,
Yes.
Zelenak,
Yes.
Dockett,
Yes.
Manley, yes. Chockley,
Yes. Okay, the second part is the agreement. And Ms. Belial has given us a draft, well, no, I don't know, not necessarily a draft agreement here. Feel free to speak to this, Ms. Belial.
Well, the agreement is, one important aspect of the agreement is that it references the statutory provision that provides for the appointment of a township manager, which is important because the statute really guides what he can do. It reiterates that he serves at the pleasure of the township board. And for various reasons, it is specific that that the term of the agreement governs the terms and conditions of his employment, but not necessarily that he will be employed for a particular period of time, meaning that we are preserving the at-will nature of the position in keeping with the statute, which provides that he serves at the pleasure of the township board. I think those are important things to note just with respect to the agreement overall. Specifically, we're going to deal with salary at the end. There are some areas that I do need guidance on. In particular, I've included mileage for travel for township business. I'm not sure what the township's position is on offering a cell phone stipend, to provide a cell phone, to not address it at all. That would be the first area that I would need direction on.
Ms. Chick this time.
Is this something that you put together? We had at the last meeting directed that we use Howard's contract and kind of tweak it. Did you see Howard's contract?
I am familiar with Howard's contract. I made changes to the contract just based on, in general, the areas that I mentioned regarding that.
Was there mileage and?
There was mileage and there was a cell phone, and I wasn't sure if that was something that you
Okay, so
wanted to
you're
have
asking,
continue.
okay.
Mhm.
All right, and then just a quick question. You used the word appointment. Is that different than hiring?
No,
Okay.
it's just a term used in the statute to distinguish between elected versus appointed officials.
Okay, and considering the job description that we just adopted on page 2 of 7, the relationship to the board, the township supervisor shall be Aynes' immediate supervisor. It should be that the board would be township's, or Mr. Aynes' immediate supervisor. I don't know how you would word that.
Yeah, that is a provision that I thought the board would want to address. I added that just in the unlikely event, just for the board's consideration, in the event that something extreme were to happen with respect to with the manager. Should there be, a criminal charge? Should he be arrested? Again, unlikely, but if that were to happen, it just provides the ability to someone on the board to suspend him pending an investigation without having to convene a board meeting. Obviously, that
No.
doesn't have to stay, but
that don't.
I offered it for consideration because
Are
I
you,
know that's
are you talking
something-
about the ninth line up?
It's section number 2 under duties.
Oh, okay. Section number 2, under duties.
On
Duties?
page 2,
I'm
and
on
it's
207.
number A.
I'm
It's
on-
number A. It's letter A,
Relationship to the board.
Okay,
relationship to the board.
oh, okay, all right. Yeah, I see it.
Okay.
Thank you.
Ms. Otto, I do want to state that I did not write this, and I did not add my name in there.
So I
No,
would
that's
like to
true.
make the recommendation that we change this language. One thing I would like in the future is if we could have a Word document, because I went through and there's a lot of changes that I think that we need to recommend on this. other than the 4 or 5 that you recommended. So for this, replace the following sentence, the whole sentence where it says the township supervisor shall be Aynes' immediate supervisor, which is in direct opposite of what the job description is. It should read, the township manager reports directly to the township board. All directives will come from the township board and serves at the pleasure of the board.
Do you have any more, Ms. Otto?
Yeah, on the first page, where it says, whereas and it's the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. The 5th, whereas, the township manager's office is responsible for overseeing the administrative departments. The rest of that sentence is all in the job description. I don't think we need to reiterate that in.
What page are you on?
It's on page 1. The 5th, whereas.
Okay, thank you.
I don't think we need to repeat it because if I'm going to make the recommendation that the job description become an attachment A to this contract. So it's part of the contract.
Sure, I think that's a good idea.
And so where it comes to administrative departments, and take the rest of that sentence off and read, as outlined in attachment A.
Okay, now I'm lost again.
Ask that we keep the statutory one in there that are not under statutory authority of an elected official. I think that's important delineation.
That's also in, but it's also in the job description.
I think it's important to have it up here.
Okay. So we would just be deleting "and the most important duty of the manager is to facilitate flow." So we'll leave the
I could agree
statutory
to that.
part in there. Okay. Ms. Chick?
On page 5 of 7, item number 12, residents, I know you had asked if it'd be stricken. I would be comfortable with that being taken out.
So,
Which one was that?
Page 5 of 7,
Yes,
item 12,
Okay.
residents.
yes, all right.
He probably does live within 20 miles because it's 27 to this building.
It's closed, yeah.
But, you know,
Yeah, but-
we could just take it out. He's
Yeah,
close enough.
I agree. I think it should be taken out.
Yeah.
Yes, he may move.
Well,
You
he
could.
could move to Traverse City
He
and
could
then we'd have to-
move 10 miles away and it'd be 30 miles and still it'd be sufficient.
Yeah. Okay.
That's right.
I'm 50 miles away from my job.
Did you have any more, Ms. Chick?
I do.
Yeah.
On page 3 of 7, item number 8, term of agreement. There's a date in here, and it's probably just a date that got tossed in, but I think the term should run at the point where he signs the contract.
Sure, okay, yeah, and you're right, it is just a date that I put in.
What do you have, like 2 years from the signing of the contract? Is it
Yeah, because
Okay.
otherwise it's not in a 2-year agreement. It becomes shorter.
And there is, I added, just in the first introductory paragraph, I noted that we could select an effective date, just so that there is no question what the effective date is. And we can make that the date that he signs,
I got it.
or we could say the date the last person who signs the agreement signs, just so that we have clarification,
Okay.
just so that everyone knows what the effective date is.
I would think the date that he signs.
Okay, sure.
Because he's going to sign first before Marlene and Kathy sign it, so.
Ms. Bellinger, Tom's got something.
Okay, Ms. Bellinger?
A question on page 2, under performance review.
I can't hear you.
On page 2, under performance review, which is number 4, can we, as a board, present the review to the supervisor?
We do.
Because it says performance review shall be presented to Aynes by the township supervisor as the board's liaison. Wouldn't we do that as a board?
And I would recommend just striking that out.
Sure.
because that's what we do now, and we
Mhm,
do
okay.
it with Chief Wagner as well.
What's the recommendation? Strike out all of 2? Or what?
No, I would
Part of
keep,
it.
the recommendation is, following the formulary meeting, the board shall prepare a written performance review of Aynes' goals and objectives for the past and upcoming year, and strike out the performance review shall be presented to Aynes by the township supervisor as board liaison. That should be just stricken out.
But you shouldn't it be,
We-
should be presented
We
to
met
Ames
as-
by the
We
township
meet-
board?
We
Yeah, we
met
meet
as-
as a township board.
And we, all of us do the review at the same time with the
Is it
manager.
open?
Yes, not to the
Well,
public.
not to the public. So this
'Cause
is what I'm
personnel.
gonna ask also to add this, because it's been an option for both Chief Wagner and for the township manager, that under number 4, performance, section 3, so it's the next
What
sentence.
page are you on?
It is on page 2. It is number 4 under performance review, and it's number 3. I'm also going to ask if we could bullet these, the 1, 2, 3, and, the 1, 2, and 3, and 4, bullet them, because it's hard to read this way.
Okay.
But,
I didn't see the number.
yeah, but the board and Aynes shall meet and discuss the performance review, and I'd like to add, with the option to have the meeting as a closed session with the board. So we've offered that to Chief Wagner, we've offered it to the township manager.
And the
Just-
reason it's not open to the public, it's not any different than if you did an evaluation for any staff member, it's confidential.
I would just note that under the Open Meetings Act, that provision for
meeting.
going into a closed session is at his request.
At his request.
At his
You could-
request.
You could put
I
that.
I can add that, yeah.
Okay. The performance evaluations can be FOIA'd, so they can be FOIA'd.
Well, I mean, if the evaluation becomes part of the closed session minutes and it is not placed in his personnel file, then no, it would not be FOIAble.
Okay.
Yeah. I mean, that leads to, an issue down the road. Should there be a performance issue, then his performance evaluations would not be in his personnel file, and you wouldn't be able to rely on them, and they'd be destroyed with the closed session minutes a year from the closed session.
I had one other quick change, and this is going backwards, so I think we needed to clean up a little bit. This is under, on page 1, under number 2, under duties. The date the board adopted the job description was on April 25th, 2017, and I think we should also add, and as amended by the board on today's date.
Where did the May 23rd come from?
April 25th.
But-
That was in Jennifer's email to me. She had responded to this and provided the May 23rd date, and so I inserted it.
Oh, okay. Did we have it at our board meeting on May 23rd
We,
also?
no, we made the motion on April 25th.
I mean, can we just put in as adopted today
Right.
instead of as amended?
yeah.
Just put
I
in
can do that.
today's
Yeah,
date?
as adopted today.
Okay.
Right, whatever
do that.
today's date is.
Okay, sure. Or June 27th, okay.
And just for clarification on number 4, the portion of number 2 that was struck under number 4, what I was contemplating was just allowing him to look at the performance evaluation before he met with the board. So I guess in saying this, it was, the supervisor shall physically give him the performance evaluation, but presented or discussed by, obviously, with the township board in an open session.
Normally, what we did in the past is that we asked Jennifer to hand out the performance evaluations to
Okay.
all the
Okay,
individuals. That's
Okay.
how it was done.
all right, that makes sense.
And the board was the one to make the decision of, we're doing the performance evaluations at this time.
Okay, all right, that makes sense.
So who actually prepares the written summary?
That was
Would
my
that be
question.
Jennifer, or who would that be?
It shouldn't be a board member.
It shouldn't be a board member.
Okay. So Jennifer.
It's whoever the
would-
board directs to
Okay.
do the summary.
Okay.
And in
Wait, wait, wait,
actuality.
What is that?
In
I'm not sure
actual-
about that
Well,
myself.
actuality, we never did a summary. We attached all the evaluations in one. Everybody had their
I like
own
that.
evaluation and had it all together.
I like that.
A summary is up to somebody's interpretation, so I think it should
Right.
be individual.
Yeah.
Right.
I agree.
We never had summaries on anybody.
So is there a change that needs to be done then?
So it's number 4 under 4.
Well, I even questioned why this was in here, because normally, we present the evaluation, we meet with the individual, and the last time that we've had it in closed session, we had the open discussion with the individual, whether it being Chief Wagner or whether it was the Township Manager. And they were presented, both of them were presented all of our evaluation, copies of our evaluations. It wasn't a summary of each one of ours, it was they got a copy of each one of our evaluations.
And that's fine. I just think Ms. Belial has put together a contract that is probably pretty standard, and, we've done things a little differently here over the years, and I don't think it's necessarily a bad thing to be looking at other ideas of how to do things, but if we don't prefer to do it that way, that's totally fine.
Yeah, so instead of a written summary, I would just presented a copy of the performance evaluation by each board member.
Yes, that sounds great.
I've got a question.
Yes, Mr. Dockett?
Page 4 of 7, the last paragraph, the last sentence of the top paragraph. I said, 90 days prior to the expiration of this agreement, or by April 1st. I'm trying to understand what that means.
The date that the township would have to notify the manager of its intention not to extend or renew the contract. So 90 days, and I can back that up based on when he executes the agreement. So if it's July, June, May, April, I guess I was anticipating that he would execute it in July, and then I would alter the date based on the actual date that he executes the agreement, or we can just say 90 days.
That's what I was going to
Yeah,
ask.
that- yeah.
I would rather just
That
take
makes
out
sense.
the date and say 90 days from the
Sure.
date of execution.
And did we do anything with the same page 407A, the bottom of the A, the second from the last sentence? Township supervisor, or according to the notice provided contained in the agreement. Can somebody explain that to me?
Just if he's going to resign, I just want to define, because there can be issues with this down the road, should there be, a claim that someone didn't receive the notice or his
Then
resignation.
I think we should say the board, because
The township.
why would we, if we want to make sure that we get it,
So
I
you-
would like to see the board.
Sure, so you would want it to state that he shall provide written resignation to the full township board at an open township board meeting?
Well, I don't know about all that, but I want to know about it if he's going to do it. I don't want to find out a week later.
Not necessarily open meeting.
Right, so just to define, I mean, typically, the person who gets notice of something like a resignation would be the clerk or supervisor?
I don't trust the clerk and the supervisor. I want the board to know about this.
How about written notice shall be provided to the supervisor with a copy to each board member?
Well, whatever.
Right.
I don't know why you insist that the supervisor has to be in there. I'm asking for the board to be notified. Now, we can vote on this if you want to. You've made other okays for people, but I want, if I say something, oh, well, I don't know if we can do that. So.
No, and I understand what you're saying. It's just,
I understand too what you're saying, so.
Okay.
for notice, it's just really important to define.
It's very important for us all to know about it.
Correct?
Okay, Ms. Chick.
I think the suggestion Ms. Beliger gave was that one letter to the township with copies distributed to each of the board members.
And when do we get them copies? That's the problem.
Right. He'll copy everybody, I'm sure. I mean,
When do we get, I
Yeah,
don't have email. So,
When
Come
Howard
get your
Fink
email.
resigned, it went to each board member.
Okay,
It didn't go to a supervisor, it went to each board member.
okay. Did it come to them addressed at the township?
Yes,
Okay.
it was a letter. Well,
was a letter.
He called everybody, too.
yeah, but it was a letter, official letter.
A mailed letter or an emailed letter?
I was in Florida.
A mailed.
Mailed, okay.
I was in Florida, I didn't get the letter.
Okay.
Oh, that's the one that we did.
Well, Ms. Otto.
I did have one other one that I was kind of confused on it. This is on page 4, and it is number 9 under termination, resignation, and severance pay. And it's at the end of B for severance pay. The
What page is it?
Page 4, and it's under B. It says, Mr. Aynes' employment with the township is terminated for any reason prior to the expiration of 90 days from his date of hire. Aynes shall not be entitled to the severance payment set forth herein. I don't have a problem with it, but there was no discussion in the contract about probationary period of 90 days. Do we need to address it?
I feel like this covers it because I think the only thing that changes is whether he's entitled to severance or not.
Okay.
I mean, I think he's still getting all the benefits that are in the handbook.
After 90 days, ma'am.
That is dependent on what the handbook provides. I inserted in here that he gets all the benefits that everybody gets, so whatever applies in the handbook would apply to him here.
Oh, no, I think the handbook says that if you're in supervision, it's immediate, from the first day, and we talked about that, and we were gonna change it, as far as I know. Does anybody know
Changed
that?
it.
Because I don't believe they should be getting 6 weeks vacation from the first day they start.
No, I think this was a severance package
Yeah,
if
yeah,
they
yeah.
leave. So she was kind to give them a 2-month severance package. Usually, when you're in when you leave a corporation, they give you a week for every year that you've been there. And this is rather, this is very nice.
So is he going to get his full benefits the first day he starts here? That's what I want to know.
Whatever the handbook
Whatever the
says.
handbook says. But the severance thing will be paid out only after 90
Well,
days.
the handbook should be changed if it says.
We're in the process of doing that.
Yeah, we can take it back up, and our attorney could also take a look at it, too, to make sure that it's legal. I think that would be helpful. Once
Excuse me?
we could have Ms. Belial take a look at our handbook also, just to make sure that everything is correct and that it is in the best interests of the township. It
Okay, well,
needs some attention.
well, what happened was Mark Zuckerwitz wanted this assessor.
Can
And
we
the
state,
assessor wouldn't come without getting the benefits. So she gave it to him from the first day. The book said 90 days, but she gave it to him from the first day. So that's why I just want to clear that up.
okay.
I think it's important to look at.
And I provided for that in the agreement, and I noted that any amendments to the employment handbook would be applicable to the township manager, so that if you do go ahead and make changes to the handbook, that will change. This contract will run with those changes.
When are we going to make these changes to the handbook? Does anybody know?
We're doing them one by one
Getting
as
to
we
it.
get to it.
Okay, well,
Sorry.
I think that's a big deal to
Yeah.
start
Okay.
getting 6 weeks vacation.
If you want to
no,
give
no,
me
And-
some priorities.
and
No,
you're-
Ms. Bellinger has,
If I may clarify, sorry. Go ahead.
Ms. Bellinger has her hand up.
Regarding this handbook, just because it just came up, so I want to interject that I think the board would have to approve hiring somebody to improve or modify our handbook. Either we could do it ourselves as a committee, or we need to, as a board, make a vote to approve that the handbook be looked at by the attorney and so forth, instead of just assigning and all this. I think we need to know, keep an eye on what we're doing, keep track of what we're doing and who's doing what.
Yeah.
Thank you.
I know that Ms. Belial can take a look at our handbook and, in a couple hours, and we'd have a product that we could, take a look at and be probably pretty we would be pretty confident that it was legal.
But I agree, that's very probably true. I just was saying that we probably should vote on these things and approve these measures. That's all. Thank you.
Okay, Ms. Zelnok.
Yeah, I'd just like to mention it's, for department heads, it's 2.5 days per month for PTO time. I said it's 2.5 days per month for PTO time for a department head. So if he starts month 1, he'll get 2.5 days, not 6 weeks.
Well, how many weeks are there?
How many weeks are there? I mean,
In a
eventually.
year?
Yeah, eventually he'll add up, but he gets 2.5
They
days.
get
one.
40 days, 40 paid
I think it's
days.
30, right?
They get 12. They get 12 and a half days vacation holiday pay, and 2.5 days a month. There's 12 months. So how many days is that?
It's 30 days.
It's 40 days.
No, I believe it's 30 days.
Yeah,
It's
okay.
2.5 days a month.
We need to talk about our
It's
employee
40,
handbook
it's
at another
43
event.
days, really.
We need to finish this contract at this point.
So
We'll deal with the handbook later.
There's 24.
I'm actually confused
20
where we
24
are.
24 days
Mr.
and
Dockett.
10 days.
Mr. Dockett.
I'm confused on the performance review. What is it going to say? I mean, we've made a lot of changes, and I'm not sure what part 1 is, conduct, and I'm not sure. I mean, I'm not sure where we are on performance review process. And
I don't know where we're at.
this is page 2 of 7, so a lot of changes have been made.
There was only 2 changes.
Okay. So we're still going to conduct a meeting in which the board and Aynes will meet to discuss the goals and objectives applicable to Aynes' position for the prior 12 months performance period and upcoming 12 months performance? Okay. So at the time we're doing his performance review, we're doing his objectives. And so based on this, we'll start out with his objectives because he won't have a performance review.
Right.
And so will that be within immediate hire that we sit down and come up with his objectives? Okay,
I would recommend it
I would too.
within the first 90 days.
Should we have that there?
Huh?
Should we have that there?
We
As
could
opposed-
have, we
I mean, I
could
would-
have that as a number 2.
I would prefer to separate the performance, within the first 90 days or 90 days. I don't know how you would do it going forward. That, so if he starts July 1st, I'm just taking that every July 1st, we'd give him his performance or his objectives. Something like that. And I think it should be separated. So it could be like 90 days after the date of hire, but that seems too far, maybe 30 days after the
Yeah, I
date of
would say
hire,
30
and then,
days.
every year, I don't know, look for legal terms, every year afterwards on that date.
Are you saying that you want like the review and the objectives?
Vacation and holiday, 42.5 days.
Were there any more changes that anyone would like to suggest
They
to
don't
this
get holiday
contract?
pay.
I
It's all,
just had one
they don't
more.
get holiday
Okay,
pay.
Miss Otto, go ahead.
They most certainly do Christmas.
So,
They
you,
don't get Christmas off?
Mi-
They don't get New Year's
Mr.
off? They don't
Mr.
get Thanksgiving?
Mr. Dockett.
I get it.
Huh?
I get what you're saying.
Oh, okay.
Okay, got it.
42.5 days.
so
it.
That's
you
what they
asked,
did.
Mr.
I get it.
Dockett.
so you asked about the expense for cell phone. The question I had was, I'm just going to reach out to Chief Wagner. Do we provide you with cell phone?
Yes.
Then the answer would be yes. If we provide it to Chief Wagner, we should provide it to the Township Manager.
Either the phone or the, per diem for a phone? Either the phone or a per diem?
And Dan gets it.
If we provide it to,
Yeah, either a phone or a per diem for a phone or something?
Yeah.
or-
Nah, you
No,
take the
I-
phone or you don't.
yeah.
I wouldn't
either
go
you
for a
take the
per
phone or
diem.
you don't.
Yeah, you either get it or you don't. That's just my thought.
Yeah, because doing it per diem, it's
No.
very hard to track people's, then they would have to submit an expense report. You would have to check to see what are personal, what are
Right.
business.
It's just a phone. Yeah, I mean,
So what,
They don't do it for Dan.
a cell phone, right?
Yeah.
No, they're going to
Okay.
add a phone to it, yes.
Okay.
So I don't know if you want to just add another under 5. I
Yes.
don't know which one.
Okay.
I'll divide it out into 5, A and B,
Okay.
for reimbursement maybe, or additional benefits or something, and separate out mileage and cell phone.
Okay.
None other than salary. That's all I had.
Okay. I'd
Other
like
than
to
the big
see an edited, in a clean copy here of this, because with all of the changes going on, it was wild.
yeah, I know. So it's when does the board approve all of the changes that were just made?
July 11th.
Okay.
And there was a question or a comment regarding the severance pay. I mean, that was a suggestion, and I guess the suggestion was based on the fact that I don't have a solid salary, and 2 months is something, but I just calculated out, for instance, if his salary is $70,000 a year, a week would be $1,300, and what I'm stating in this agreement is that in exchange for the severance, he executes a full and complete release of any and all claims he would have. So my concern is just making sure that that amount is sufficient to make that release enforceable going forward. I would hate for the township to think that he released only to have a court say, no, that's insufficient consideration, you get to file whatever claim.
I think with the previous contract, we didn't have enough teeth there, and I think that's appropriate.
Okay.
Right. And we had 6 months in the last contract, and that was excessive. Thankfully, we didn't have to pay that out, but.
Up to usually it's 1 month for every year you serve, up to 6 months.
Okay. Okay.
That's what I was thinking.
So we'll need to see another copy of this, but then now there's the discussion on the salary. Okay, I put Mr. Aynes into the budget at the minimum that we had, the minimum of the salary range, 60 to 75,000. And then you'll see in the budget that it was calculated that if he had started, let's see, August 1st, I guess, then it would only be 11 months into the new year. So you'll see in the budget, it's 55, but it's really a $60,000 salary put into the budget. And that's my recommendation, considering the tightness of our funds at this point. But the board can discuss that however they would like to.
I feel that since we had in the budget a range of, was it 60 to 75?
60 to 75.
That we should allocate in the budget for the maximum in the event that that may be what we need. If we don't need it, it's okay. But we should have the negotiation space. I mean, we're talking about a individual with a lot of experience. He was certainly,
The budget should reflect worst-case scenario.
yeah.
Yeah,
that should-
and I believe that we should negotiate at the lowest amount first.
Well, that's why I had it in the budget. If you throw it in the
Definitely.
budget at 75,000, then he's going to say, well, it's in the budget for 75,000.
Always amend the budget.
You know, we can always amend the budget if we need to go higher.
Right.
And right now, if we put it in for 75,000, that's going to kick us into, we've got a lot of priorities to deal with. Right now, what you're going to see, the budget has an extra $1,000. You know, it's a balanced budget. We have an extra $1,000. And we have not included numerous things. So you'll see that shortly. But I think it's important that we prioritize properly or look for those extra funds. Going to 75,000 is going to create easily, let's see, 15. We're probably into the $22,000 or $23,000 increase to our budget. It's going to have to come out of fund balance.
Unless there's 15,000 that we can take out.
Yeah.
We have
Oh,
actually
then they're really-
approved the
Good.
manager, we have voted as a board to approve this manager investment, if you will. So this should be in our budget.
Okay, that's up to the board. We can vote for that to be at 75, but just be aware that there's no master plan in the budget right now either. There's no RFQ for the North Village. There's numerous things that are not in there, and I think we need to be careful because we really did take a lot out of our fund balance last year.
So what's the recommendation for the salary?
We don't need the North Village in there. We need a supervisor, a manager, excuse me. What is our fund balance?
We negotiate between 60 and
when-
75 and start at the low.
When we
would-
give them the contract, what's going to be in
What is
page
our
2 of
fund
7?
balance? She
Right.
said
Or
it's coming
3.
out of the fund balance. What is the
I
fund
mean,
balance?
what's going to be the number?
Does anybody know?
Yeah, starting off at 60, I would say.
Okay, so we're going to put in there on page 2 of 7.3, 60. That's what we're going to direct. Is that correct? I'm just asking.
60,000.
Starting off at 60.
I said, what is the number we're going to put in the contract? I'm,
I move that we put $60,000 in
I mean,
the starting
I'm
salary.
asking, you know, but I mean, I'm thinking we complete this contract and we give it to them and then we start negotiating.
Yeah.
Okay, and my question is,
I support.
what is it going to be there for the salary?
Okay. Mhm.
Just 65, 60?
60.
I think there was a
65 might be
motion
better.
by the
Yeah, I
supervisor.
made a motion to start at $60,000, put that
I
in the
support.
contract. So motion by Chockley and support by Beliger for $60,000. Do you want a roll call vote, Mr. Dockett?
Yes, because I'm going to vote no on
Okay.
that. We want to make sure we hire this guy.
This is the start.
We know that you 3 don't want one, but us 4 do.
Well,
So,
That's why I think you
so-
guys should,
so
you should pick the salary.
We need to start there. What is our fund balance? Does anybody know?
Yeah, it's on there.
I'll get it for you.
I'm assuming this is negotiable as needed. Okay.
Projected.
49? Is that what that says? Yeah, it's projected. 49, and we're supposed to be at 85. I hope we're not going to
49.
take too much out of this fund balance. We're just about half of what we should have.
Okay, so motion by Chockley, support by Beliger. Roll call vote, please.
Beliger.
Yes.
Chockley.
Yes.
Dockett.
No.
Chick. Yes. Otto.
Yes.
Zelenak.
No.
Manley. Yes.
Okay, that passes. Okay, so we start at 60,000. I would like to see a good copy of this, though, before it, we don't have the background checks yet back. So we'll have a final approval on this on the 7th, no, the 11th of July, and then the negotiations begin?
Yes, and I can provide a red line and clean copy so that you can
Okay.
see the changes that I made and then look at it clean as well. So
Okay.
I'll provide both.
For that.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. All right. So I guess we're done with that then. Thank you. Next item is land preservation.
Do we do, is this number 2 or 3?
This is number 3.
Okay.
Well, because we can't, authorizing Ms. Belial to begin negotiations,
Yeah.
we can't really do that until,
So shall we table that then?
yes, I move to table that till our July 11th meeting.
So I'll make the motion to table the authorization of Labor Council to begin negotiations to July 11th.
Okay.
I support.
Okay, we had a motion by Ms. Otto to table the authorizing Labor Council to begin negotiations, support by Beliger. Roll call vote? No. All in favor, say aye.
No,
Oh, discussion, you needed to say
Discussion.
something?
I'm worried about this guy not, waiting for it. I mean, we have been dragging this thing out. Is there nothing else we could do? I mean, to get it going a little faster?
We'd have to have a special meeting.
So why is the background check taking so long, too?
It takes 2 to 3 weeks. He actually called me the other day, and he's going to come out for the 4th of July parade. But
Awesome.
anyway, he called me up, and he said they had just interviewed him. And that was just Monday or something like that. I think it was Monday. He called me. So anyway, they had just interviewed him, so I don't know what else is going on yet.
Yeah, it said right in the thing that it was,
2 to 3, I
I
think.
said 2 to 3.
I can't remember what.
Chief, were you talking to the?
I'm sorry. It said how, the length of period when you voted on it. I just don't remember what it said for the one you chose. Was it 2 to 3 weeks?
It was 2 to 3 weeks, but by the time the paperwork gets turned around,
I can't hear you.
because he had to sign documents, we had to sign documents, back and forth, and it hasn't been that long since all the documents have been signed. Ms. Carlisle can let you know what those dates were, but it hasn't really been all that long. Okay. So did we ever vote on this? No, we didn't. So we had the motion, and now we'll have a.
Can she read the motion? I
Okay.
forgot.
Ms. We're tabling.
Oh, we're tabling the authorization of Labor Council to begin negotiations for the Township Manager position to July 11th.
Okay. So we have a motion by Otto and a support by Beliger. Let's have a roll call vote then.
Otto.
Yes.
Zelenak.
Yes.
Chick.
Yes.
Manley, yes. Dockett.
Yes.
Chockley.
Yes.
Beliger.
Yes.
Okay. So, thank you. That passed. The Land Preservation Committee plan and budget request is in your packet also.
Could we take a break?
Yes, I'd like a drink of water. Could we take
Yes.
just a couple minutes? Okay, be quick. Thank you. I will too.
What's that? Who? Oh, did you?
I did.
Oh.
Everybody needed a hug today.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. I need sleep.
Here, make it over here and it'll get bigger. All right.
I know.
Jump to.
You have to be in line up by Walkers will line up at,
Thank you.
well, since we're going to be, you guys decide, so we're gonna be walking for,
And I gotta do the packet all by myself next time, so the Thursday before the 11th is when the packet goes out there for the packet.
Oh, yeah. Okay. I'm driving this truck. Okay, thanks. There you go.
no, they can, are you also taking your golf cart? I didn't understand that part of it, yeah.
You're decorating it all?
So, Tom can bring her thing all the way down there and park there, and then when she comes up, all the walkers can get one. So you take the whole vacation walker.
We had a personnel committee, but they didn't have a map, so I don't know.
I wish we would've had a concert, we would've had the thing, and she will be.
Well, second place, we had a personnel committee. I'm not on it. I know.
I think people needed to hear the changes. I think.
Oh, my goodness.
I didn't sleep last night.
Did you not?
After, up midnight last time I looked at the clock. Stupid dreams.
You can't look at the clock. You can't look at the clock. That's a killer. No, you can't do it. You can't do it. I have a deal with myself that I'll only look at it if I really am awake for a long time. I mean, if I just wake up, I try my best not to distract. That's a killer.
It is, except that if you wake up in the morning and you say, oh man, I got another hour of sleep. If you can go back to sleep.
That's the thing for me is when it's only an hour. I know. I know for myself that sometimes it takes me an hour to get to sleep. So I'm like, I might as well not even try at this
I
point.
can't even imagine, you had must be busy all night.
I generally am pretty good as long as I make it. If I wake up at about 4:15 or so, I'm in danger of not making any more sleep. But if I wake up at like midnight or 1, I can pretty well get back to sleep. But
Yeah, me too.
that's the real trick.
About work all the time?
So I have to, if I wake up, I have to actively think about something else so that I won't think about work. I do exactly that. I just go.
Okay, think about flowers or the garden, planting a tree or something. Something that's not stressful.
I have definitely woken up and just laid there in bed going, no, until I fall asleep again. I've done that. How sad is that?
I had a friend who used to have anxiety attacks and she used to work.
Okay, I'd like to call this meeting back to order. The next item on our agenda is the Land Preservation Committee Plan and Budget Request.
So as, at the last board meeting, the Land Commission was requested to put a business plan together. And we tried to get something together so that we could get some funding, and I'm just saying this as a we, as I have attended the meetings, I still need to be appointed to it, so we'll have to put that on the next agenda. And to me, one of the real reasons is that it is in our master plan, and it has been that we would promote preservation. And the Land Committee, I've only got involved in the last 2 meetings, and I'm very impressed with their diligence and their commitment and what they have done so far as they've gone out and got a ranking of how to rank the lands. They are starting to talk to landowners. Again, they make the criteria that it be 20 acres or more, and so they're moving forward. But they are requesting some money, and if you go to page that's not numbered, but it is the last page, gotta always page number things, of just about the reason what they would do with the money. One is to hire a land preservation expert to really identify even more so the owners, and to have preservation committee would carry out community meetings to involve residents as well as the landowners, to let people know that we exist and this is what our goals are, and to continue to research methods of land preservation. So I think the main ones is we'd like to hire a consultant to help us with this process, to get us off the ground. They have been working with Barry Lonkick, and then there is also Sue Lackey that would be interested, so we would take it out to bid to see who would offer the best price for the value, and then again we'd like to do a mailing to let people know. But we would have to again put more parameters around that as we get closer to doing that. So that's just a brief overview. I know Julia and Mary are in the audience. If they would like to add anything, I would invite them to add anything.
Okay.
Yep. There's a switch on the side of it.
So I'll just basically repeat what I wrote. I think our first months have been information gathering, which has been great, and for me has been a whole education in this arena. I feel strongly about land conservation, preservation, but I never really knew the nuts and bolts about how to get in there and, get started. But we have all this information, we need to do something with it, and you need resources to be able to act. And so I think it's fairly reasonable to ask for a modest budget to get this off the ground, especially letting our community know what we're doing. We talked about putting out postcards and having sort of a meet and greet with prospective landowners that might be interested in preserving their land for posterity and for the benefit of the community. So that's essentially what I said if you didn't have a chance to read your email.
Thank you.
Yes, I see Janet has her hand up.
Okay, Ms. Jacki.
Yeah. Oh, I went right from work to
So
a
I'm
baseball
sorry.
game, that's why I'm...
So I have a question.
Yes.
Is there any portion of this consultant's work that the commission could actually, the committee members could actually do themselves?
I think
As
there's
far as
some-
reaching out to the people in the
Yeah,
ag area?
definitely.
Talking to them individually?
I believe so. I mean, definitely hosting meet and greets, there is some legwork we could probably do. But yeah, I think in order to, I think the consultant is the one that would really guide us in where we need to focus our efforts.
So would it be possible for the consultant to come and speak to us to let us know exactly what he's going to be doing?
Well,
I'm sorry, did you have a question?
Yeah.
Oh, no, I was just, when you were done, I was gonna.
Okay,
I was gonna-
all right,
because
only
it may be
yeah,
helpful.
because that is a large investment. We have a really
Sure.
tight budget this year. So and
Yeah.
I would like to hear from the consultant to know exactly what he's going to be
We've
doing, or she.
Yeah, this was the first I've heard there's a she involved, but Barry spoke to our group and was very informative. He's very, interested in this in his own time as well as professionally. I can't speak for him, but we certainly can invite him.
Right,
Yeah,
and then,
go ahead, sorry.
I apologize. Initially, this was the Farmland and Land Preservation Committee, correct? And now you're just focusing on land preservation?
We felt like the overheading title of land preservation kind of covered it all.
Okay.
Whether it's farmland, whether it's natural areas.
So I know a couple of the
It's more
things
of a
that the township,
streamline.
yes, right.
Yeah.
A couple of the things that the township was interested in, as well as the planning commission, and we had talked about it before, was that the understanding, or at least I understood, that the commission would be doing like an audit of the farms in the township, and then and giving us information on the type of crops that they grow, and if they're selling their goods locally, are they consuming them, are we consuming them locally, how they benefit numbers. I know there's a comment in here about a lot of about the economy, contributing to the economy, but what's the number, and that kind of thing we'd be interested in too.
I think working with the consultant would help us,
So
get
is that what he
information
does? I
as
guess
well.
that's what I'm asking.
Yeah, my understanding from our meetings were that he would be somebody who could help us put together a list, a grouping of potential landowners that we could then talk to. He would be willing to talk to, he or she. And then, but yeah, we certainly could include economic numbers of, how agriculture.
Could the township actually give the committee the names of the property owners in the ag areas as opposed to them?
Well, if I may, we do have some areas actually from Washtenaw County, our maps that pinpoint and rank the different lands about the value as far as conserving it. So we do have a starting point of that, and yes, we could certainly find tax owners and property owners.
Okay,
Readily, no, it's serious, Janet, being that I'm in the tax area.
I think you might know that.
Well, if I can identify, I probably work with and get on that, we can identify them, but we do have some maps that have ranked the properties as far as conservation or the value, high, low, and medium.
Okay.
So we have
Thank
started
you.
a little bit of that.
Mr. Baines has had his hand up.
Thank you, Madam
What?
Supervisor. As a practical matter, just as a backdrop for this whole thing, keep in mind that the power to contract and the power to spend resides with the township board. So functionally, even if there's going to be $10,000 or whatever number allocated to this board, functionally the way that that would work is it would be a budget allocation, which then the board would make recommendations to this board on how to spend that money, but ultimately it's this board spending the money. So I would think it would be entirely appropriate for people to come before you to say, here's what I'm going to do for what you're going to pay me. Ultimately, this board's making decisions as how the money gets spent.
So is this a township, is this a formal committee, much like the Parks and Recreation came to us and it formalized their,
They're putting together bylaws. Right, and
So we need to-
yeah, so we need to kind of establish them as an official committee. That
Well,
has
I
not
think,
happened yet.
I think you're basically putting the cart before the horse, because first of all, when we did the Parks and Rec, everything was presented to us, and then they asked to be a formal board, and then did the bylaws and did the master plan and everything. So,
Let's have them come and provide a presentation at our workshop meeting, maybe the end of next month.
I think that
So,
would be a good idea.
like 10 or 15 minutes or whatever, and some leadership from the group, and then we can go from there. As far as that goes. Ms. Beliger?
I was doing a little homework on this one, a little bit, and going back to our December 13th, 2016 meeting. Item number 3, Farmland and Natural Areas Preservation Committee. Chockley said she would like to see a Farmland and Natural Areas Preservation Committee dedicated to looking into and researching strategies that would benefit the township. In answer to questions, she said that she envisions this as a volunteer group. Beliger said that she would not like to see this lead to programs that cost taxpayer money. So please note that in the report that we've received by this committee that is included in our packet today, changes the goal of the committee and proposes a new commission with a self-proposed goal of implementing specific aspects of the master plan. The master plan is already implemented by the township board and other boards. My feelings are that this committee is an unnecessary and potentially costly overlap. By definition, a committee is formed, created to generate a report or and accomplish a goal and then to be dissolved. The suggestion to establish a new budget item is fiscally irresponsible. We need to concentrate on other efforts, such as North Village and many other things, and recovering our fund balance. Therefore, I move that the Farmland and Natural Areas Preservation Committee be dissolved July 25th, 2017, at which time the committee will present to the board with their final report regarding strategies that would benefit the township.
Support.
We have a motion by Ms. Beliger to dissolve the Farmland Committee.
Could I speak for a moment, please?
Who is, yes, Julia?
Yes, Julia Henshaw. Maureen Chockley, the supervisor, was at our first 2 or 3 meetings, and there was absolutely no direction from her that we did not have the board's support to be a committee.
We didn't.
And I'm absolutely dumbstruck that you think that you somehow didn't want to have this committee. You don't want to have this committee. We've been working very hard. We've had 6 meetings now. We've gone out to all other townships in, you know, all of our adjoining townships. We've talked to all kinds of people. And I can't, it's almost impossible to believe that you could just dissolve us. I'm sorry. I mean, I don't want to put it all at Marlene's feet, but Marlene
I'm
was
dumbstruck too, actually.
very,
I don't
Marlene
think
was very encouraging.
Yeah, that's there's a motion on the floor, and let's handle this. There's a motion on the floor by Beliger and support by Dockett to dissolve the Land Preservation Committee.
And with this discussion,
okay.
the committee can exist on its own, perhaps, and utilize private funds, private contributions from individuals. There's nothing stopping that. And like I said, the committee is created to generate a report or accomplishment and then to be dissolved. There's nothing wrong with it. And the committees can be created and dissolved again and again.
Okay.
Thank you.
Are you
I'm
finished,
discussion
Ms. Beliger?
too.
Okay, Mr. Dockett, and then we'll see if anyone else would like to speak. I certainly would. Go ahead, Mr. Dockett.
Go ahead.
No, go ahead, Mr. Dockett.
I would like to say that, you know, the bus company, Zelnick wanted the bus company to have $10,000. We never heard anything from them since we gave them $10,000. We don't know what they're doing. We don't know how many people riding on it. You know, these people lose track of things pretty fast. As soon as they get to $10,000, you don't hear from them again. And Zelnick was all for that. We got a community center up there we're paying $125,000 a year for. It should have went out for on the taxes. They should get money just like the library does. Shouldn't come out of the general fund. We got a park commission. They get $10,000. We got another park system that's getting $10,000. I mean, and our fund balance is down to 49% from 85. What in the world are we doing here? I mean, I'm a businessman in this town. I'd like to have $10,000 for the business people of this town. I mean, it's crazy. No, I vote no.
All right, is anyone else? Ms. Chick?
I think the work that the Land Preservation and the I'm going to say this wrong, Farmland and Land Preservation Committee is of value to the township. We've been wanting this for a long time. The information that you can bring to us is valuable, and we can use it to make decisions for the future. So the fact that the committee is asking for money, I think, is not a reason to dissolve it. We have to consider the funding issue as we get information from the consultant and for more information that you're going to bring to us. But I would not support dissolving this commission.
I think, all right, I'll go ahead, Ms. I think we have a lot of very honest, hardworking people on that committee that have a passion for the rural areas of the community. And there is a value in having natural areas. There's a value to the protection of our lakes, to having natural areas, and to protection of our the animals, and our air and definitely water. There is a value, and there's a value in just having that available to everyone to experience. I'm frustrated that we want to step on the good wishes and the good work of a group of people that want to benefit this township. I wanted $10,000 in there for them to match the Parks and Rec, but it was very difficult when I was running a deficit starting at $113,000, which was actually $200,000 now that I've found a correction that we had to make. So I had to cut the budget significantly, and it was very hard to cut from 10 down to 5 for a group that I think is going to work very hard and produce some good products for the township to benefit all the township residents. So it's very disheartening that we're divided this way on the board, but we are divided, I guess. Ms. Otto.
So I just wanted to make the comment, I'm not to a point that I would even consider dissolving the committee because you haven't even had traction yet to prove yourselves. I think the only thing that I've asked is for information, for a presentation at the board to be on the agenda to provide information to us, because I think that we need to be educated as board members on land preservation. And I think that while I may not, I have to consider the allocation of the funds across all requirements. I do not feel that that we should be dissolving it at this time. I think it would be too premature.
Okay.
And I'm not even considering it.
Anybody else? Okay.
I just want to just add,
Go
again,
ahead.
it supports our master plan, and I'm in support of it for the preservation as well as development, and I think this is a first good step to learn more about preservation, educate our residents as well as the board, and again, preserve some of the local characteristics of Northfield Township and sustain agriculture. And sometimes I think people forget open space also. People gravitate to areas that have open space, so economically it could actually be a benefit. So I just think we need to look at all aspects of our township.
This is no question about the value. You guys, absolutely, this committee can present to us extremely valuable information. And there's no question about the value of nature and green spaces and forests and farms and all this. This, however, is a method of redistributing public funds through taxes and using money to benefit other individuals. Now, I'll return to this paragraph here. The master plan is already implemented by the township board and other boards. My feelings are that this committee, it is unnecessary and potentially costly overlap. So eager is this committee to come and ask for money. This is a very, farmland preservation is a very sensitive issue, obviously. There's very passionate people. This money to support this should be done privately, not out of public funds.
Thank you, Ms. Beliger. Okay, let's have a roll call vote on this.
What is
The motion is to dissolve the committee by Ms. Beliger and support by Mr. Dockett.
The motion is I move that the Farmland and Natural Areas Preservation Committee be dissolved on July 25th, 2017, at which time the committee will present to the board with their final report regarding strategies that would benefit the township.
Okay.
Thank you.
Roll call.
Otto?
No.
Zelenak?
No.
Chick?
No.
Manley? No. Dockett?
Yes.
Chockley?
No.
Beliger?
Yes.
Okay, it fails. All right, that's over. Thank you for all of your impassioned discussion. Okay, the next item is the budget. Okay. So, so I understand, you know, we'll be taking up budget issues in the future, but let me make the presentation here so that you can know where we're coming from.
Is this new budget information here that you gave us? Is this like a,
This is going to be this is the presentation.
okay, thank you.
Is yours better? Okay. Now how do I make it big? Oh, there we go. Okay.
Can we do something about these lights?
We're good. Yeah, I do. Okay. Now maybe we should take it out. How's that?
Wonderful.
Okay, great. You all received a copy, well, if you were online, you received a copy, but if you were on the board, you received a copy of the budget report for the entire year, well, of all of our funds. I've given you an amended one that we may refer to as we go along with this presentation, because some of the lines, what I did was I actually took into account the amendment that we will pass, I hope, in a few minutes, and then you'll get to see, the numbers become much more clearer, and in fact, when that happened, I noticed that we had an error under our road work fund, so you'll notice that. So anyway, here's our budget, and I'll do my best to answer questions on this. So,
Which one are we on? I mean, I'm wondering.
we're not on anything that you've got in front of you. You get to watch the
okay.
screen, okay? These are our tax-supported funds. We've got the general fund, the police fund, fire service and medical rescue fund, which, by the way, expired with our December 2016 millage. So we need to have that renewed, so we'll be able to have funding beyond this year. Our DDA fund is also tax-supported, but we haven't captured any money for quite some time because of the economy and the loss of the tax base in that area. The Public Safety Building Debt Fund and the Building Authority Debt Fund, we get funding for that, for those. Our self-sustaining funds, we get state narcotics funds, federal narcotics funds, building department fund, and the wastewater treatment plan. They get funds from what they do. So those are not tax supported. And then we have special assessment districts for our sewer service. Oops, page down. Okay. So our general fund is to capture revenue dollars, and that's from property taxes, state revenue sharing, our cable franchise fees, administration fees from taxes, and then the and miscellaneous other things. And our departments are supported by the general fund, and that's this board, the supervisor, township manager, elections clerk, board of review, treasurer, assessing, hall and grounds, legal and professional. Just about everything here gets supported that the township deals with. So thanks to Lenore, she put these nice little pie charts together for me, which is really nice. So anyway, you can see the different distributions of the revenues, and you see most of our money comes from the state shared revenue. And I looked into that recently. This is where you'll see a change from the prior packet, that we should be getting an extra $30,000 in the next cycle from state revenue sharing. You can't count on it, but it's about $30,000 more than we were getting this year, which will be helpful. And then, let's see. You see our taxes, you know, we're at 0.78 something as far as tax revenue for this, for the township. So this is what our residents pay in taxes. And so we only get, for our budget, only about $268,000 a year.
If I may, Madam Supervisor, I
Yes.
mean, you may want to go up to the presentation and just highlight the pie chart area that you're talking about.
Oh,
It's just
yeah.
a thought, because
Oh,
it's hard
there.
to see it.
Okay,
Or
thanks.
something like that.
Does
There you
that
go.
work? Okay,
Yep,
so
that's
here's our
good, and that-
taxes. State revenue sharing down here. And then this is the tax administration fees that we get because we put the taxes out. Oh, no, my little guy's gone. Okay. Whoops. Okay. So these are the general fund expenditures, and they're very hard to see. I'm sorry about this. But it starts at the top with our capital outlay, and the largest one at the bottom is road work. Now, the capital outlay, I had $9,000 in there for a police car to be used for code enforcement. And I did the spreadsheet. We would save about $1,300 to $1,400 a year in mileage reimbursements, but we had a $9,000 outlay for this vehicle, and our budget is tight. I eliminated that. So the capital outlay there is basically if we need another computer, and that's all we have in there. So you'll see it goes from the low of capital outlay and recreation, land preservation. I put $5,000 in each of those budgets, which you'll see. Recreation normally had $10,000, and so I had them both down to $5,000. And then our contingency fund is only $5,000. If we have some disaster that we needed to take care of, we only have $5,000. So the rest of them just descend, and you'll see down in the road work, we've got over $500,000 in the road work budget for this year, but $346,633 is related to the non-motorized path. And $221,633 of that is the grant that we will be receiving from the county. So that's why our road work is so high there. The remainder is just for limestone and ditching and whatever else that the county's going to do for us, and the 6-mile culvert. So there are other items there, but the vast majority of that money is going into the non-motorized path. Yes, go ahead.
I can't hear you.
If we're getting 221,000 and change back from the county against that 346,000 and change, shouldn't the amount budgeted be 125?
Right, it is. It's 221,633 plus 125,000, and then that much added together makes 346,633.
Right.
So the rest of that $506,000 is what we're going to be paying for the limestone and the dust control and all of that.
Are we still doing 3 applications of?
We are doing 3 applications, right.
Thank
This
you.
is, we voted, I put in everything we voted on.
I'll answer.
So we are getting 3 applications. Lots of people felt very strongly about that. So 3 applications are still in there. I didn't take away anything that we had all approved. And
If I may add, I think what you'll find is the revenue for the 221 is in the revenue side.
right, yeah,
Right.
yeah.
So the way you have to account for it is you have to put the 221 in the revenue, but you also have to put the 221 in the cost. They'll neutralize
Right.
each other, but it runs your cost expenditures, but you will see in the general fund, the revenue is there.
Right.
And actually, yeah. So that,
Yep.
and you'll notice on some of the paperwork that the other is very large. It's like 300 and some thousand, and that's because of the 221,000 for the road.
Mhm.
So yeah, that to me is unfortunate about the accounting part, is you up your expenses and everybody's looking at the expenses, but the revenue's on the revenue side.
Right, right. Mhm.
You'd have to have some pretty good eyes to see it from here.
Yes, there's a lot of different categories there, so. If you back this up, you could back this all the way up and it will get bigger. Oh, that's a lot better.
Yeah,
Yeah,
probably don't even need that thing. Put it on the wall instead of that thing.
well, it's getting blurry.
Thank you, Bill.
That's better. Thank you. Okay. Yeah, right. And I do want to mention, there's the township manager's at right above road work. That's the second biggest one. But the township manager budget includes other things besides just the township manager's salary. It does include Jennifer Carlisle's salary. There's some controller in there. You know, code enforcement was in there, it's no longer in there, but there are some other items in there that really, well, then we have to create another category. If we did it with just the township manager, if we just took the township manager and spread that out, you'd see different categories under it, like Jennifer, for instance, you know. So, but that's the whole budget right now for the manager. So, the community center is $112,582. That's a lot of money. So
The one thing that we had in there was the People's Express, and what we did every year is allot them the $10,000. We did not do that this year, so why do we have it in the budget?
because it was in there last year.
Well, it's
That's-
because People's
yeah.
Express comes to us each year
And
and
asks.
asks for it.
Right,
So we really shouldn't put it in the budget unless we have it.
right. I know
To give them.
Ms. Zelnok sent me a letter the day I was getting the packet, or the night before I was getting the packet. And I just couldn't get it onto this agenda. So, you know, yes, it can be removed, and it can be added back, or we could just, you know, have it be a placeholder.
And it should be.
Yeah, it should be.
Should be removed.
It should be removed, that's right, completely.
Okay. And I'll have to find it in here where it exists, but I did see it.
Page 4.
Page 4?
Yeah,
Okay.
it's 101-101.
Oh, welfare
3836.
costs.
Yep.
Yep. Welfare costs, and People's Express shows up in there. So I got that from the controller, and apparently it was, you know, it was just passed along because it had been approved for other years. And so if you find things like this, let me know.
The other one is the salary increases. Several of the deputies, and we've had salary increases here for deputies, for some deputies, not for all deputies, but for some deputies, and for Chief Wagner. I just feel at this point, if we don't have the money, we only give raises when we have the money. And so all the increases need to be taken out at this time. And when the board has not approved it. So if we approve this, we're actually approving all the increases.
I support that we remove them, because we should probably get reviews on these individuals before even
we give
considering
them
a raise.
increases.
I don't even think it's about, you know, if it's been, performance reviews, anything that we haven't approved shouldn't be on here.
Right.
Very true, thank you.
Mhm.
So that amounts to what, about $12,000, Ms. Zelnok?
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's $12,000 for those raises. I think
And so the
they're
Social
appropriate.
Security
Oh, yeah.
adjustments need to be
that
made.
includes, it's all included in that 12,000, but I would like well, and it comes in here later in the budget too, that the Personnel Committee take a look at a salary study and then make recommendations for what appropriate salaries are. I think Ms. Carlisle's salary is too low. I think our office staff is critical to the functioning of the township, and I'm concerned about us losing key staff if we're not going to be responsive to what salaries need to be. So I would like us to take a look at that.
Mhm.
And while we haven't approved anything specific for them, those were in there as placeholders, because I felt very strongly about about them being compensated appropriately.
I don't think anybody disagrees with that. I just think as far as the budget goes, if it hasn't been approved, it shouldn't be in there. That's just my sentiment.
I
So
agree.
it comes out to $14,201.51 that,
Yeah, I came up with $14,037.86 if you were to give them a 6%, 8% rate for Jennifer Carlisle. And obviously, if you cut it in half between 3 and 4, you're talking $7,980.82.
yeah, I don't mind doing that, but we haven't approved it. And if we
Okay.
approve the budget, we're approving these raises. So I would say
How did you
at this
handle it
time-
last year?
Huh?
How did you handle it last year?
You would have to take a motion to approve the raises. That-
That's correct. Doesn't.
Okay.
Just because it's in the budget doesn't mean you give them the raises.
Well,
Right.
you're allocating the money for it.
Well,
That's true.
and that's important. If-
That is
if we-
important to know that, what it would cost, so that
Right.
you don't allocate it somewhere else.
I understand that, but I think that you have to do the increases when you have the money.
Mhm.
You know, we complain that we're at a certain percentage of our.
Our fund balance.
Our fund balance, so let's look at that, see where we can adjust, and if the budget comes out, starting to come out good, then we can start giving people
Well, right
raises
now,
as needed.
we're neutral. So I
And-
don't think personally that.
And we'll have a new leader by then, maybe.
Well, I mean,
That
I
would be
personally
helpful.
don't
Mr.
think.
Dockett, let
Huh?
let
I
Ms.
don't
Zelnok
think
speak.
the staff should burden and carry it,
But
because
the
we are
problem is
neutral.
that you didn't give the increases to all staff, you only gave them to certain people.
Well,
All
what-
staff have not been given raises in this.
the
Who are we
wastewater
missing?
treatment, has received raises.
Who are we missing?
The suggestion of a salary study may make sense.
Mhm. Well, we have the deputy, we have our deputies with getting a raise. We have,
Who are we missing? I mean,
who are we missing?
yeah,
Building,
yes,
what is hers?
Yours
Yeah.
is 6%,
yeah, Mary's there,
Mary's 6%.
deputy.
Jennifer's not in there,
She's
Yes.
in there at 8,
at 8%?
yes.
You didn't break
It's-
it down.
Well, of course, it's under, like, Jennifer's increase is under
Probably under manager,
Township
right?
Manager. And,
But it shouldn't be in there because it hasn't been approved. No, it's
that's
not.
true.
It's not put in there as a raise. It's not broken down.
It says $19 an hour.
That's all it says. I don't know
Right.
if that's what she currently makes, or is that the increase
17
that you're?
17
Well,
something.
it's not broken down.
Well, that's why I would like us to do a salary study, but I put the money in
But
as a placeholder, so we don't,
Do it afterwards. It's
Okay.
harder to take the money out, it's harder to put the money back in. I mean,
yeah, if you take it out, we don't have
we need
it.
to take it out.
We need to take it out because we have not approved it. We need to
Because we
strike these
haven't
items.
approved it. And you just said, we're only doing the things that we've approved. We haven't approved these things.
So are we putting anything in for the manager? What are we putting in for the manager?
No.
We just approved the,
Mm-hmm.
The manager's budgeted for 3 years.
At what amount?
It's 60,000.
I thought we were putting 60,000 in.
well, we approved.
Yeah, it's been
Yeah.
60.
So I mean, even, I'm even saying,
Did,
I'm sorry, I'm even saying that Chief Wagner's increase needs to be taken out too. It just all needs to be taken
We
out.
just
don't
gave
think he
Wagner
got one.
$6,000.
And then we give them an increase upon,
So we come to the table with a whole bunch of amendments in the future.
yes, exactly.
We just give Wagner $6,000.
When we have the money.
Less than a year
Okay.
ago.
That's, that happens with any company that you're with, is you give increases with the pools of allotment that you have.
Okay, we will come with a recommendation for a salary increase in July.
Maybe.
By the second meeting in July, unless we can get our act together and get the salary study done, which, it's hard for us to get together for that, but we will have raises in July.
But
Yes.
go back to the budget.
we need to
Yes.
pull this out of the budget now. In order to pass this budget, we need to get down to the things we approved.
Okay, we will recalculate and remove all of those raises for a final document that I can sign.
We have to make a motion tonight, I believe.
Yeah, yes, but let's get through this and talk about some of our other issues, and then we'll get to the end of that. Okay, so here's the general fund. Then here's pie charts of the general fund. Oh, that doesn't look as good. Anyway, this is percentage of our total expenditures. So our recent draws on the general fund, which has brought it down so far, is the purchase in the last fiscal year, is the purchase of the Van Curler property. It was $330,000 or so, plus taxes, which were about $20,000. The transfer of funds to purchase a fire truck, $250,000, and the partial payment for the non-motorized path was $72,000. So we did spend our fund balance down considerably last year. So I was talking to our auditors about it because the fund balance was quite low, and they said, well, it can be thought of as a savings account for programs and services for the township. That's how they look at fund balance, and they recommend 100% or more, just so you have some good savings should something happen. However, a company that manages and evaluates townships say that a general law township like us with the fiscal year that we have, July 1st to June 30th, would have a 40% as the minimum that you should have in your fund balance. However, we have a policy of 85%. So, that's obviously been violated by us. We ought to figure out what we want to do about that. But that's if you're not putting any money in capital outlay, and we're not putting any money in capital outlay. So when we're approaching 40% for a fund balance with no money set aside for anything in capital outlay, that's pretty difficult.
Well, and that also means that we're at a budget constraint now. So anything that we don't have to spend, we don't spend.
Okay, and that's why you'll be, when you see the list of everything I pulled out when I was trying to get this balanced, it's amazing. So here's the general fund in the 15-16 was $1,603,498. It's 129%. And then this end of this year, it's $866,418. And that's 69% of a normal year's expenses. We had a lot higher expenditures, so I didn't count it against that, but that's significant. So the next item was the police fund, and this is our dedicated millage to provide police protection. And here's where the revenues come from, taxes. Oops. And then I don't know what happened to the other things that were up there sticking out. Okay. And here's their expenditures. So it's mostly personnel. Our fire and medical rescue fund, again, it was ended. So we are hoping that the voters will approve another 5 years of 2 mills. I don't know what happened with these slides, Lenore. Anyway, then their taxes to support them would be $682,654 in general fund, and then that other portion, which you can look up on in your budget report. You can find out what that goes to. I don't quite know. Do you, Chief? What kind of revenue is that?
Yeah, we do some billing for crashes on the highway, hazmat incidents, and I believe a portion of that is a sale of a couple of fire trucks this year.
Oh, okay.
Once the new truck comes in.
Okay. That's correct. Oh, good heavens. All of my little numbers are gone. That was their expenditures. The donation fund, now this fund we could use for tracking donations to the township, and Ms. Beliger is interested in people making donations to the township for various things, And we can keep them in there and track them. There's nothing in there right now. It's totally empty. But donations given to the township for a public good are tax deductible. So people giving donations for the non-motorized path, for instance, those are tax deductible.
Thanks for having that in there, great.
The DDA captures tax dollars, but we haven't gotten any lately. We have NARC funds that you've heard about in the past. Chief has spoken about. If anyone has questions, they can ask him.
I have a question. It's only $150,000 this year. Hell, we pay a full-time officer and buy him a car and buy his gas and all that. I don't see we're making much money on that this year, Chief.
Mr. Dockett, we put in a number there. It could be $50,000. It could be $300,000. We don't have any way to really know what kind of forfeitures we're going to have, so we kind of have averaged it out over the.
What did you have last year? Do you know?
I'd have to look it up.
Well, 150,000 is what you got in there this year. 159,000 or something like that.
Okay.
But if you took this guy's wages and all his benefits and a car and gas and everything out of there, I don't see. And he's not on our roster. He doesn't work in Northfield Township. I think it's a waste of money. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Dockett. Okay, page.
We had 100,000 in for this year.
100,000, okay, good. The building department fund, this is just for the building. People pull permits to build and fill and do all sorts of things to their properties. Public safety building debt fund, this is how we pay for this building. Wastewater treatment plant fund, we have that one. I'm not going to go into all of these different funds. We have their sewer funds and the fiscal year 16-17 budget. Well, no, it's 17-18. Sorry. This budget, I added the $30,000 estimated state revenue sharing increase and then the non-motorized path. So that's what's included in this year.
So Marlene,
Yes.
you show it as a change, but in the one that you presented 2 weeks ago, the 221,633 was in the requested budget column. Why is it different?
It may not, which one, where are we? Oh, the grant income?
Yeah, the grant income.
Well, it used to be in the amended budget, and it got shifted to the 17-18 budget. I've made a mistake up here. This shouldn't say fiscal year 16-17. It should say 17-18.
Okay.
Okay.
So, but that it didn't change our allocation from 2 weeks ago to what it is today?
It did not.
Okay.
It did not. There was just a change that I made in those lines and noticed that there was, I was changed to show the zero there, that I took it out of this year if we do the amendment shortly. So, and this is this year's budget also, sorry, it should be 17-18. So the expenditures approved by the board, this is what I've included: the township manager, the non-motorized path, the extra application of dust control for the rural roads, and the replacement of 6 Mile Road culvert, because we've approved all of that. I put in raises for the several office staff and the deputies, pending a salary study and recommendation by the Personnel Committee. Code enforcement, I increased to 2 days a week, although that is in the building department now. That's not in the general fund. And I put in $5,000 for each of the Parks and Rec Board and $5,000 for the Land Preservation Committee. Parks and Rec normally gets $10,000.
That's not an automatic. They have to come before the board every year and ask for it, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
So that should also be
They
taken out.
might not even use it, that's what they said.
Okay, why wouldn't we want to allocate them any money?
It's not that
Because
we don't want to, we
It's
just
not,
haven't.
we just
Yeah.
don't.
Okay, well then, we'll have them come and ask also,
They
correct?
have to, they said they would.
Oh, okay, okay. I was going to recommend $5,000. So I can't recommend anything
But
either,
the board
huh?
hasn't approved anything for them. So it goes back
I
to,
know.
they have to provide us what they want to spend it on, and the board approves what they.
Okay, so we can take that out, but I put this budget together as a recommendation, and that's why I'm recommending the salary increases too. And it's a holding number so that we can make sure we have money in there. But we can take it out for this purpose and put it back in.
Contingency fund of $5,000. I don't know what they used it for, probably for a buffer.
That won't pay for salaries.
I understand, but if you want to have a buffer, you can.
Can we put all this money in the contingency fund?
Can't we put this in the general fund? Why not?
If they want it, they can just come. I think.
Why not the general fund? Why we have to
Just
put it in all
leave
these
it there,
different
and
pockets?
And as things come up, then you present it as a motion, and we decide if we want to do it. That's
Well,
how
I
we've
think that
done
would,
things.
that might,
You don't want to ever remove the $5,000.
No, I'm saying, whatever we haven't approved shouldn't be in the budget.
Right.
But, and just like every other thing, if somebody wants the money or needs.
Can you please use the mic,
Please
please?
ask her to talk in the mic, will you?
Oh, I'm sorry. I think whatever is in the budget should be money that we've already approved, not money we expect we're going to have to use, it unless it's something that is typical that runs, like some of these items run annually.
So what has happened in the past when we looked at our, our fund balance, we look at the money that we have left over and say, okay, how far, that's why we came up with the 85%, because we had extra money in our fund balance to use, and then we made a priority of what are we going to use this on, and make the priority from there.
So can't we just put this in the fund balance, the salary thing, the parks, or the land preservation, pull all that stuff out of here and put it into the general fund? Is that what we do?
It is in general fund now.
General fund.
We just take it out of these little individual lines, individual departments.
It hasn't been approved, and that's what we're trying to say.
We need to remove those.
It needs to be removed because we have not approved any of that.
Exactly, so we
Okay.
need to go ahead and do that.
Okay,
Well-
when we remove these, they'll go back into the fund balance, and we'll have to pull from the fund balance.
That sounds great.
That's right.
And we need to do that, at our,
And we'll have to vote
for
on
salaries
that.
at our next,
We'll have to vote on.
That's great. That's
and
how
we'll
it
vote on
should
it.
be.
And we'll have to vote on that, is that
Okay.
right?
That's our job.
That's fine.
Then you have a more realistic figure for what you've actually got, not what you expect.
Right. Well, unless everyone felt fine about Parks and Rec having $5,000, then we could just go and do it.
It's not the way the procedure should be, is what we're getting at.
I'm not sure that has been done that much differently in past years, except for maybe salaries. It seemed like Howard would recommend certain amounts
Well, let
in
us
the
start a
budget,
policy
and then-
where it's in the general, in the
Yep.
fund balance, and different boards
Okay.
come to us requesting, or committees come to us, and we approve different things such as salary increases and so
Okay.
forth as a
We'll have a
board.
list of amendments ready then in the next month.
We could make amendments tonight,
No.
Well, no.
or we could remove
Well,
items
you're gonna-
tonight.
We can remove it, we could vote to leave something in there tonight if we liked it. So, anyway, let me finish here so we can get to the end of
Yeah,
this.
fine.
And,
Then we can have discussion.
pardon?
I said, I think of a budget process different.
Yeah.
The budget process is right now, we're presenting as a board of what we want, so the public knows what we're going to be spending
Mhm.
their money on. And it seems like the majority right now says, no, each individual item that's an increase or different, you want to come separately. So I think of the budget process differently.
Yeah.
I appear to be in the minority, is that this is the recommendation, do we agree or do we not agree? And if you want to come and get every individual item approved, okay. So,
Well, I would even go as far
So-
as saying any contractual agreements in here, if it's not, if the increases that I see on the contracts in here, if it's not in the agreements, then it needs to be taken out.
So we should get rid of our attorney?
No,
We don't
I didn't
have a
say-
contract with them, either. That's not been approved for
yeah, I mean,
like several years. It's just been carrying
yeah.
on. It's surprising, but.
Well, at the end, we can go
Okay.
through and remove items that
Right.
that aren't to be here right at this
So-
point.
I'm sure they haven't done it but line item by line item in the past.
yeah, so I mean,
well, that's how the school that I'm at, if we don't have contractual obligations signed, if things aren't in place, then we don't do it. And I work on with state fundings. So if the contract isn't in place, it's not allocated for the budget.
So I mean, do we have a contract with our lawyers? Do we have a contract with Lisa? Do we have a contract with Jim? Do we have a
Yeah.
contract with
Well,
OHM?
the contract was
Do we
in
have
place
a-
at one time.
I-
If it's rolled over to Evergreen and we've never renewed the contract, that's a different story. Has it expired? Yeah, okay.
Right.
So, I mean,
I think our budget is
so
going to
unless
work
you tell
really
us
good.
that
We're
it's
all going
expired,
home.
Have they expired?
Can you find
It might just
them?
be rolling over, I don't know.
It's just rolling over. So
But
that doesn't mean
I-
that we don't have contracts.
I'm
But,
not
I mean,
sure.
is that what the contract says? Is it, now, I've been talking to our attorney, and he does not like automatic renewal, so I highly doubt his contract has that in there. That's the first thing he pips on any contract I
He's an
have.
attorney, he would have it automatically in there.
Because everything I give him, he pips that one right away. No automatic renewals.
Okay. Okay, wait, Miss
defend
Manley
himself.
has a question.
I mean, Jim and Lisa, we don't have contracts with them.
Right, we're going to.
They're anxious.
Well, I mean,
correct.
it hasn't been an issue in the past, it's an issue now, so are we just cutting them out of the budget for now?
We are trying to clean things up.
Right.
I mean, yeah, that's been a challenge, you know.
These are running things, these are new things.
Well,
Well, somewhere along the line, we have approved Lisa, we have approved Jim. And just because we don't have a contract with them doesn't mean that we don't put them in the budget. At some point, the board approved it. And the same thing with the attorney. The board approved them. So
I
what
thought-
we said is, if the board hasn't approved it, it isn't in the contract.
Sounds good. So things that the board hasn't
Anyway.
approved need to be removed from this budget. We should do this by line item tonight and then approve the budget at that point.
I
tonight.
have to disagree with that. I mean,
That
we,
this board has approved, or
you
other
know,
boards have?
we can take out the few, I mean, if you want to take out Parks and Rec, land preservation, you know, that's all great. I did give you guys the opportunity to comment in the past couple of weeks. I didn't get anything from anybody, really. Maybe,
You've had comments from the last session.
what substantive comment?
The comments on the raises were at the last board meeting.
That
And
one,
so
yeah.
was the car, and so was the
So was the
farmland
car, and so
preservation.
everything.
I removed
We've-
the car.
Yeah, and the farmland preservation was in there, and the raises were discussed.
The
So we
raises-
need to remove these items that we have not
Okay.
approved.
Let's enumerate the few that we would like to revisit then. Because we have to adopt a budget tonight or we can't function.
And we'll adopt one with these
We
things
can't do it
removed.
in 5 minutes. Okay, let's keep going here. All right, so what's not in the budget? There's no funding for the master plan review, including the survey, no funding for the non-motorized plan, and no funding for the RFQ for the North Village. None of that was voted on, and it was not put in.
What is a non-motorized plan? I don't-
That was something that the Planning Commission asked to do
Okay.
in a workshop. There's no funding for any capital improvement plan or improvements to township facilities, no funding for an additional staff person for the building department, and there's no funding to fix this air conditioning or heating in here either. So we just don't have that much money. Okay, so this is our building department. There's two photos of Mary trying to work in her teeny-weeny space here, and I don't know how she can work efficiently there. I'm going to redesign the whole, well, see, I've been waiting, you know, but we
You have
we
to have
need to,
approval to-
we need to read it, we don't have to,
Because it costs.
no, it wouldn't, to move Mary over, so we're going to have to talk about it as a staff and see what to do with everybody, because there is not room to efficiently work where she's working.
Well, one thing you have to understand is if we move her to that room, make sure that there is allocation for her computer and outlets and everything.
Oh,
I know
yeah.
that there is in one corner of the room.
Yeah, I was thinking of putting the whole planning department in the manager's office.
Yep. Marlene, you need to talk into the mic, Madam Supervisor.
Pardon?
We're gonna
We can't
have,
hear
You
you,
need to
Madam
talk into the mic.
Okay, sorry.
There you go, thank you.
Yep. Okay, so anyway, we do need to do some rearranging, reorganizing, And I had hoped that we would have some money in the budget to put planning department up here, although I don't know that we could adequately heat and cool them at this point.
Well, I don't think you should do anything with that manager's office,
Why not?
because we're gonna have a manager that's gonna be taking care of that. It's not your place to do.
That's why I
it.
haven't done it, you know.
No.
That's why I haven't done it.
Well.
All right, so
you-
anyway,
you
but you
have
can
no-
just,
You have no right to do it.
okay. you
Because
have-
we know you vote against the manager. We know you don't want him. So I'm gonna be watching you very closely.
Okay,
And the other two also.
you do that, thank you.
Marlene can have an opinion just like you can have an opinion.
Well, you can-
So
that's
all
right,
it is.
that's
Yeah.
right. You can have an opinion.
Right.
Yeah.
I'm just giving you my opinion.
Okay,
All right, and that means if we're not agreeing to something, we have to vote on it, so.
all right. Okay, we gotta get through this here. So this is kind of one of our issues, you know? And we don't have enough staff either. So, what do we do now? The budget does include the funding needed to manage the day-to-day operations. You know, I did not cut stuff out that we needed to run the township. We need to consider the ramifications of not funding or delaying certain important projects and prioritize the items that were not included in this budget. That's the master plan stuff, the North Village stuff, staffing, salaries, those kind of things. We need to revisit the items identified at the retreat and develop a plan. We need to explore other funding mechanisms such as fees and grants to help raise funds and explore potential cost savings with our contracts. So, what do we need to do? Approve this budget so we can get into the next month and have some money to spend. Yeah, I'm happy to cut out whatever items you guys have identified as we have not approved, that being the Parks and Rec and the land preservation.
So is it, we're going to remove both of those, correct? And we're going to remove the salary increases? And we need to remove People's Express. You said you already removed the automobile, so I don't need to,
That's gone.
I don't need to reiterate that one.
Mhm.
How about North Village?
Okay, is there anything else that anyone is being concerned about?
So
Jack?
membership dues, what is WATS for 1,100 and SEMCOG, we're not a city, for 1475 in the Huron River watershed? Perhaps we could save a few thousand and remove, not allocating, it looks like about $3,500 there.
Those are the memberships and the organizations that we receive a lot of assistance with.
What is WATS, please?
WATS, Washington Area Transportation Study.
We need it.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, every one of those we need.
Yes.
How about if we also, in addition to removing these, there was a question about the engineer for 10K on page 11 or 10, depending on which of these documents you're looking at.
I would not remove that. We tend to need engineering services for various questions that go along. You notice that's been cut very low.
Okay, one other question is I would like to see that we take the revenue that we are gaining on the 2727 North Territorial, which is the fire department, the fire building over there, and do like we do 75 Barker and take the money that we get from there and put that into a fund for that facility only. So not the general fund and not just the fire fund, but only for 2727 North Territorial for building maintenance and repair, as we do with 75 Barker.
Yeah, I thought when we approved the tower being there, that was a requirement of that motion, that 100% would have went towards the fire department
Is that your
for that
recollection?
building.
It was 75-25.
Right, it was 75-25.
Oh, it was? Oh, okay.
Right.
All right. I thought it was 100%.
Is this something that we could or should change? Could we make a motion to alter that now, or is this something, how do we address that?
Well, I'm sure they need all sorts of things, but, yeah.
Well, the property belongs to
Okay.
the taxpayers. It doesn't belong to the fire department or the general fund. So I agree with her. I believe the money should be put in a lockbox so that when we need a new roof, we need a new parking lot, we need a septic tank and drain field, we need something, we have the money. Otherwise, that you guys are siphoning off the money, $400 a month to the general fund, $1,100 to Wagner, and then when something happens, the taxpayers pay again.
Okay.
That tower should pay for anything goes on out there, in my opinion.
Like 75 Barker.
Yeah. We should establish a fund that holds those kind of funds for those uses, and I agree with that, Mr. Dockett.
Thank you very much, ma'am.
But we can amend this budget next month when we do all the other amendments.
When we, another one is the planner meetings. I understand why we're doing it, because of the issues that we're having with approving.
Can you tell me what page you're on?
Well, in the old one, it was page 11. I don't know what it is on this one.
Okay.
It is 101-412-801.
Okay, planner fees, yeah. You'll notice that it's really, I don't have a lot of money in there at all, really, we had this year's budget for 40,000. I took out all of that, 25,000 for the master plan, so it got down to there. I do think that we need to talk about our planning consultants, and
I think that should be an overall discussion.
Yes.
And
yes.
I just think at one point, if we could just take it out now, because it should be an overall discussion. There should be a total plan in place.
I have a plan, but it's not been presented before this budget. So
Yeah.
if your preference is to take out, 2640, I mean, that's not getting us very far, but, you know, we can do that and hopefully amend.
I mean, all these start adding up.
Mm-hmm.
They do add up. I think
Okay.
you're going to find that once you take the salaries out, which is about 14,000, you're going to find we're going to come close to $20,000 that we found.
So can we get a confirmation of what we are removing at this point so that I can double check and make sure that these things are covered? We had the salaries. We have the automobile, which you already took care of. People's Express. The farmland preservation and Parks and Rec. And you said the planner?
Yeah.
Yeah, 2,640.
Is there
Well, I
any-
just multiplied that out. That's where that came from.
And I wanted to address the thing with regards to creating the cell tower fund like for Barker. And is there anything else that?
I think we can, let's leave the cell tower alone until we amend next time.
The roof on that building is going to be $40,000. They're getting $11,000 a year. It's going to take 4 years to replace the roof, so
It'll help.
if we pull it away.
No, it's $17,000 a year.
Yeah.
It's not $11,000, $17,000
Okay.
a year. Over 17,000, isn't it, Wagner?
100% goes to
Not that the fire department's getting.
No, you get 11,000. You get 1,100
Okay.
a month.
One
But the
conversation.
township board, the general fund gets $400 and some dollars a month.
We can't hear with everybody talking simultaneously.
Well, I think
I was
had
trying to
right.
get you some notice so you could finish your sentence.
Well,
So,
thank you.
Thank you. Okay, so if everyone is fine with the rest of the budget, removing those items, so we're talking about, again,
I see no problem with stopping the 17,000.
Yeah, we should put the 17,000 all in that lockbox for like we did 75 Barker. I think we're going to do that soon. So the items, can you please list them off for us and see if there's anything that we have everything covered
let me see.
that will be removed
Okay.
for
Well,
our vote?
Okay, if we take all the cell tower income out, which is 4284, that'll be 0. That's all going to the fire. Then, is everyone okay with that? No, let's take a vote on that.
Okay. What?
Okay, make a motion if you would like to remove the cell tower income, 25% of that from the general fund. Go ahead.
No.
I'll make the motion that 100% of the revenue for the cell tower allocation revenue It would be in GL 216000684 and GL 101000684 be all allocated back to the fire department at 100%.
Should it,
You just allocated the Barker Road to
Oh.
the,
Is
to
that the
the-
Barker Road?
yep. I'm sure
Or-
Chief will
Page
take
you're
it,
on.
but
Huh?
what page?
the first page, yeah.
That's cell tower,
Yeah, but,
684,
yeah, 684, but you did 688 also, didn't you?
No,
There's
I
two-
did the fire department GL code is 216000684.
Okay.
And the one in our general fund is 101000684.
Okay.
I'd like to amend that
And
motion.
where's it going, Jackie? Or, Jackie, where's it going?
Want to put it,
It's going all back into general ledger 216000684, which is the fire department. No. The money that is in 101000684 for $4,284 is being sent back to the GL account 216000684, which is the fire department. So they're getting 100%.
Well, I thought we were talking about putting it in a lockbox.
put it in its own fund for that building.
can't do that right now.
We're not talking about giving it all to Wagner.
I mean, you can.
We don't have an account
Right,
for it
exactly.
yet.
You can't have an
That's the
account.
problem.
So,
Oh,
I mean,
okay.
So we can't, really, we shouldn't be able to do it right now until we have an account set up.
Let's do it next month. We'll establish a line item. We'll talk to the controller, we'll establish a line item, and then we'll vote on it next month. It's not going to hurt anything sitting here for a month. Okay.
Please make sure that's on the agenda.
Send me an email, and I'll
Okay, thank you.
I'll put it in that list. Okay. Okay, so we're not dealing with cell tower today.
Next month.
Okay, so we are taking out land preservation, parks and rec, the salary increases, and People's Express. Is that all?
The planner, the 264, 2006.
Yeah, the planner meetings.
Oh, the planner. Yes, extra planner.
I did have just one more question.
Yes.
On the software, there was an allocation for, I think it was $12,000.
Oh.
Is that for new software, or is that for just licensing?
Let me, tell
Is
me
that the
what number it
BSNA?
is.
It's the accounting software, so
Yeah.
I didn't know.
Oh, those are, what do you call them, subscriptions or something.
Which page was that?
No, that would be
Looking back to-
licenses.
That was, that's a usual,
So I was thinking it was probably $1,000 a month license.
It could be. That was, we created a new information technology department, because this was all lumped into, underneath the Township Manager. And so, because we're doing, a little more with our information technology, we broke it out.
That's all I wanted to know, if
Okay.
it was a licensing thing.
I do want to mention that I would, and this we did not vote on, but I hope we do tonight. Cloud backup for our server, and that's approximately $130,000 a month to do that.
No, wait, how much a month?
No, sorry, $130. $130 a month. Okay. Yeah,
Whoa,
right.
we're done.
But I don't have a firm number yet for that, but I think it's critical that we make sure that our data is secure, and that, and I have had some recommendations for this. This is the lower amount if we, back up this way. I can have a presentation for you and extra information before any contract is signed, but I wanted to make sure that we were going to be protecting the township from computer failures. And some time ago, they had a failure of the assessing computer and lost a lot of data. And it's been taking them years to recover from that. They have a hard backup, but it doesn't protect you from something like that WannaCry virus, apparently. So,
You have to be very careful.
we do need to be looking out for the township, and while you might think we're not a target, there's a lot of stuff that goes on out there, and it really could be just an innocent opening of a document that gets sent to any
Well,
one
one
of
of
us.
the issues too is because we're putting things out there on we're putting stuff out there on Facebook from our offices, and Facebook carries a lot of viruses.
Right.
So, the other thing I wanted to ask too is on grounds cleaning and janitorial service. We increased the budget by $4,000.
Tell me the number.
101-265-816.
Yes. Yes, I see it.
It was increased by $4,000. I was wondering, is this part of a new contract that we just approved recently, or is this something that you're expecting that will happen coming in December?
It's a contract that we just wrote.
Okay, I wasn't sure.
We
so-
we are mowing the community park. I mean, and our snow is going to go up because we're going to be plowing the non-motorized path. So there are costs associated with some of the projects, and so that's why it's up. It's in anticipation of that, and rather than come into December or January or February not have any money for that sort of thing.
Yeah, well, I didn't know if we had if it was coming to a new contract that we got or one that we already approved.
No, we have the new summer contract that we've already done, So once we sign contracts and we find out it's going to be high or it's going to be low, we can amend the budget. But we need to make sure that we have money in there, because otherwise we can't do what we need to do. Ms. Beliger.
Do we need to take some bids or do a little research on this cloud backup stuff? And as you mentioned about, we're talking about allocating funds. Is this something that shouldn't be allocated just yet until we actually decide what we're doing and then pay for it at that point?
I did get a quote from Kelly Olson, who does all of our information technology stuff in the Township Hall. And he gave me two options, and this was the lower price of it. I looked at it and said, well, why can't we get rid of a lot of stuff that we're no longer using, which reduced the cost a bit? So 130 is probably the highest we'll need to go. While we could, bid it out, and perhaps we should find some other options to compare it to. I'm not expecting there to be a big change. That does not seem excessive to me. I just want as a placeholder at this point so we can get it done. Ms. Chick.
I don't know if this is a budget question or not, but I know, and understandably so, we've been using our labor council a lot lately. Is there some way that we can cut back on that? There are questions that only she can answer.
Well, that's been the issue with the township manager. There's been a lot of back and forth. There's been a lot of back and forth with one of our, closed session issues, and that's taken quite a bit. And so that's been high. We've had, other legal costs that have, with Paul Burns and Brad Maines about tax tribunal issues, and so it's been very high, the attorney fees recently. And I'm concerned about that, when we may be able to make some adjustments to how we operate here and not have Mr. Maines here at every meeting. And apparently was never, that was in the past. They weren't here at every meeting. They were just here when they needed to be here. And a lot of things were done by letter. So they would look over the contract, send us a letter instead of being here to actually, have to answer questions.
That started with Howard Fink.
It
started with Howard Fink.
Right. Mr. Fink wanted them here all the time. And while they are on retainer, they are not on retainer for this meeting. So, when these meetings go to 11 o'clock and they start at 6:30, that's additional, So, But apparently that had become customary to have our attorney here. And yes, I have to admit, I like Mr. Maines. And he does bail me out on occasion, or many occasions. We could cut costs by not having them here all the time.
Maybe every other meeting, maybe once a month
Yeah.
or as needed.
I
When
just have
needed.
One quick question.
Yes, Ms. Otto.
So the automobile was taken out
Yes.
as being sold to the township. We have it over on the revenue side of the police fund as sale of fixed asset.
Mhm.
Are we still planning on selling that? Okay.
Yeah.
Why can't you donate it to the township?
Well, that particular vehicle was purchased with drug forfeiture money, so
He
when
has to sell it.
when it's sold, it has to go back into the drug forfeiture fund.
Okay. All right, so anything else that needs to be removed from this budget at the moment? Because I'm going to need it, we're going to need to approve this for tonight, and I can make adjustments in all of the, I don't have that with me. Let me finish this thing here. So we need this budget approved. But I do think it's important that we establish a date, or at least meeting times, when we actually do set our priorities as far as funding things go, identify potential revenue streams, potential cost savings, and we need to look at our fund balance policy. So that needs to happen. If you want to do it in a retreat in an afternoon, that would be fine with me. We just need to pick a date, and that tends to be challenging.
Is there any way prior to the time when the budget has to be done, that like a month before, that we can have a proposed budget and go through all this stuff before we even get to this point?
We can. Now, this was an unusual year because I did make a note that we've lost, Mr. Fink's not around to ask, to deal with it. And Rick Yeager left, and then our new controller came on, but, so there's been a lot of challenges. This is my first budget. Next year is going to be better. And they recommend that you don't wait until, the end. So, 6 months out, you start looking at stuff. Right now, a lot of our contracts have not come up yet for renewal, and so some of the numbers we don't know. Prices are going up. We're estimating for a lot of things in this budget, but we need to make sure that we do it as accurately as we can. So anyway, I'm happy to take out those items that you have all highlighted tonight, and then if with your approval, move on to adopt the, what's it called? General Appropriations Act, but I will definitely take out all of the items that we had discussed. So this is done.
Would you like a motion?
Yes, I would. Thank you.
I would like to make a motion to approve the Northfield Township General Appropriation Act, Resolution Number 17-567.
As amended. As we amended the budget.
As amended.
And I will distribute an amended copy.
I would like to list briefly the amendments, or just a key word for each amendment, so that these are outlined.
Okay. Oh, actually, I need to pass out a new version, so you know what changed. And then we will cross off some other things. So here are two new versions.
I don't understand what you mean by new versions.
The one that I just passed out, you will notice when you look down at the general fund revenues at the bottom, you'll see a revision column. And these were updated based on new information that I received yesterday. And a correction to the road work
Is this on page 1?
line item. So on page 1 of the General Appropriations Act, toward the bottom, you'll see, it says revision, where the numbers are. It's the general fund revenues, original and revision.
Yeah.
Okay. Determined that there was going to be about $30,000 more available to us from the state. So I revised that number, which helps us actually not be so far in the red. And then you'll see on page 3, and my pages are numbered. On page 3, under estimated expenditures, you will see under road work, there is $506,163, and this was due to an incorrect entry on in the budget due to road commission contract. So I needed to raise that. And then the capital outlay I did change due to eliminating the vehicle. So these were the changes that were made to the document. And then I have a final version which has all those changes incorporated into them, which I'm going to pass out now. So you can throw away the one I just gave you.
Oh, my gosh.
The one with the revisions. Okay, but that's just for your information so you know what the revisions were. Now, this is the one that we need to pass. But we need to change the, some of the line items.
I need one, please.
Pardon?
I need one.
We only got one.
You
I
only
need
got
one.
Okay, here. Here's another one. Here comes another one. Oh, no. Okay. So now we have to find where in here those things exist. And
So we're receiving this at 10:20 PM, June 27th.
yep, you can be upset about that if you want, but a lot of things
Merely a comment.
are very difficult to get done in a timely manner.
So are we changing any of these dollars, or are we leaving it as is, stating that there's an amendment for certain line items?
And we could do it stating that there's going to be an amendment, and I will just distribute the
I think, yeah,
amended
that you
copy.
can pass this as it is and then to do the amendments after,
Or
at
we
another
could-
meeting.
Or we
even.
could have done them next month and
Right.
instead of going through all those things, but
Almost pass it as is
I
and
would
amend it
too.
next month, because
Yeah.
otherwise, I
It won't
don't
get,
think we
the problem
technically
is
have a
they won't-
budget.
Right.
they won't be amended. That's the point. We need to amend them and confirm that they're going to be amended. And then we pass the budget.
And why do you think they
Okay.
won't be amended?
here we go. See, you see down here, there, I know, because nobody, it's unfortunate
it's
that
just
there's a
moving.
lack of trust on this board, but,
Anybody can amend
But we could
right.
take a vote.
We can take the recreation and land
Right.
preservation
You
out,
could just
that's
take a vote.
easy.
Right,
Okay,
okay.
all right, who's making a motion?
'Cause
I'll make a motion to approve Northfield Township General Appropriations Act Resolution Number 17-567 as revised.
Oh, as,
What do you mean by
That's
as?
revision.
You mean
Then
this
I
one?
would include noting
And
that
with upcoming amendments.
well,
to
this-
those areas that we identified.
This is the one you just gave me, the latest one.
the latest one, so you
Mhm.
want it to pass it as amended by
And-
all of our comments tonight? Okay,
Right, but we don't have to list the amendments.
you don't have to list them?
We can do the amendments one at a time at another meeting.
Well,
Lisa, did you get that?
No,
Yeah,
no.
you either
Yes,
have to pass it as it is or make changes to it now.
Now.
You can
Make
pa- you
changes
can-
to it now.
You can pass it as it is
amend it.
and then make
Yeah,
amendments
that's what I'm
later, but
saying.
you can't pass it tonight saying,
Yeah.
and we're also going to guarantee that we're gonna make changes later
No,
to be named at a
no,
different
right,
date. Yeah, I
right.
just wanted to be clear
Yeah.
about that, okay.
Pass it as is,
Right, in the interest of time.
yes.
We will amend it next month.
Yes. Okay,
Okay.
so that's my motion.
Okay, so a motion by Chick.
How hard is it to
I'll
amend
second.
this now?
It could
We
be
just-
difficult pulling out all the salaries separately from all of those different line items, so,
And we could pull out,
yeah,
Okay, we'll be
everything
here
but the
another hour,
salaries.
right?
But I'd just say do it and we'll just amend it.
we'll amend it.
We've
next
done this
time.
before, so it's not like we're inventing the wheel.
Okay, so motion by Chick and support by who?
I'll second.
Manley, to adopt the General Appropriations Act, Resolution Number 17567, as distributed. Okay, roll call vote then.
Manley, yes. Dockett,
No.
Chick,
Yes.
Otto,
Yes.
Beliger,
No?
Chockley,
Yes,
Zelenak.
Yes.
passes. Thank you.
It's a good discussion, though.
Well, we learned a lot about each other.
Well, it was a good
And we
discussion.
learned a lot about our budget, too.
We know the budget, it's a good discussion.
This has been a really eye-opening experience,
It was a good discussion.
you know? So,
Lenore is correct. It was a good discussion.
yeah.
We will amend these at the next meeting and
Right.
get everything on board and
Yep.
regain our trust.
Okay, thank you very much. Okay, next item. Life and disability insurance contract renewal. We have a,
Oh, what,
yeah. Oh, yeah, we do. We
what
have a
what
budget
happened, what
amendment.
happened to this one? Is this done?
No, we
No,
are.
going back to that.
Yeah, we're going back to the budget amendment. So, yeah, you all have this in your packet, and this is an amendment that has, correcting a couple line items that have,
Is this number 5?
this is number 5.
Okay, thank you.
Okay.
Amendment number 5.
Yep,
Yeah.
so I would like to make a motion to approve Resolution 17566, amending the 2017, that's current year, budget. The attachment, the amendment is attached to this schedule. So, motion by Chockley and support by Chick.
I think you probably already answered the question. I did have a question about taking out of the roads fund. Why not the general fund? And why make sidewalks and pathways fund? I think you may have already answered that. These are just questions I had on that.
Okay. Any other comments on this? Okay, I guess we'll do a roll call vote on this one, too.
Dockett,
No.
Chockley,
Yes.
Otto,
Yes.
Manley, yes. Chick,
Yes.
Beliger,
Yes?
Zelenak.
Yes.
Okay, thank you. We got to sign these things too. Does she give you things to sign? Yeah, okay. Oh, okay. We'll just have to pull it out. Okay, all right, the next item then is life and disability insurance contract renewal. And,
Wait, there's number 6, right? What about number 6?
6 we already
we
did.
just did number 6.
Okay, there was one question. Can we visit something? I'm curious, they said it was number 5. This is why. On page number 3, I'm just curious, can anybody give me an idea what the millage was? 7.227 mils. How does that compare? There's no history here. I'm just kind of curious. On page 3 of, item number 6. It's called the General Appropriations Act. I'm looking at item number 6. I'm looking at page 3, in the middle of it, where it
Which
says
resolution?
Section 6, millage levy,
Right.
page 3.
Right. This is the levy for the, all of the mills that are approved in the township for fire. Of course, we have no fire, sorry, for police and the township and the building funds and everything that we,
It's a
levy.
combined then? This does not include what we give to Washtenaw? Do we appropriate out of here money to Washtenaw
no,
and the
this is
state?
only for Northfield Township stuff.
Okay, that's kind of what I was curious.
Yep.
Just to confirm and just find out what's going
Yeah.
on.
And the ones that we are okaying on here, this is the very, very most we can get from the people. Is that correct?
the very, very most.
Yeah, I realize that you say
Right.
The fire is not on here.
Fire's not
but-
on there.
But we're getting every penny we can get from the other ones. Is that correct?
We did not reduce it below what we were allowed to do for Headley. But again, we don't need to make that determination until September, when we turn in our tax rates to the county.
We're voting on this tonight.
So if somebody wins the lottery and donates a lot of money to us, you know, we could do something, but I don't think so. Anyway, the next item, and I just passed out a revised.
So we already finished with this?
Yes, we are. I just passed out a revised proposal for Northfield Township from Burnham and Flower. This is our insurance for life and disability for the township, and we need to renew this. Our rates are set for 2 years, although we are not committed. We could leave it at any time. Jack Schmitz is recommending, and you got a memo saying he was recommending Mutual of Omaha, but we got a revised schedule, and he is now recommending MetLife because it's a lot less expensive. In fact, less expensive than our current year life and disability rate. So if you see on the last page,
Good thing it's the last page, because it's not numbered, is it?
it's not numbered. Nope.
Before we leave, we're gonna number
He sent it to me as a PDF, unnumbered, so
I know,
I
just
didn't have
manually put them
time.
in.
I didn't have time. Okay, so our current insurance is 15,000, no. Our current insurance, this doesn't seem like a lot of money, I mean, compared to other stuff we're going through. Our current is $15,019.32. And he's recommending MetLife, which is going to be $14,666.88, less than we're currently spending. The option B would be Mutual of Omaha, and that is $16,382.16. The only issue that we have found with this one now, to this point, is that there is a pre-existing condition clause with MetLife that is 6 months, 24 months. And that means if you should go to the doctor for something, you know, that you could, you know, could cause a disability.
But this is for new hires,
This is
correct?
for, well, right, because as long as a hire has been here less than, more than 6 months.
It's for new hires.
It's for new hires, right?
Pre-existing is
Yeah.
only for new hires.
Correct.
Right. But if we had a new hire that was here, we don't have anybody here that was here shorter than.
Correct. It
6
doesn't currently
months.
apply to anybody.
Yeah.
It may potentially apply to the township manager, correct?
It may,
It-
right.
Would probably apply to the wastewater treatment, the last guy you hired.
Okay.
Yeah,
The last
correct.
guy
to
we
the
hired in.
wastewater treatment
Yeah.
manager,
Yep.
or who we hired for wastewater treatment.
Yeah, right. I
Not
don't
the
think
manager.
The new
'cause he
one.
was-
The one that
Right.
replaced
Right.
the
Yeah,
manager.
so we have two, potentially, right?
Yeah.
But it's for
Willis.
new hires. It's
Dan
not for
Willis.
everybody that's currently
Right.
employed full-time.
So the deal on this is if you're seen by a doctor and had a diagnosis within 6 months of being employed by the township, you couldn't receive any benefits or, you know, paid treatment or anything for that for 24 months after you were hired in by the township. So that's the difference. It doesn't affect that many people.
With these types of benefits, it really isn't an issue.
I don't think so either. So I guess I would like to make
I
a
mean, we're
motion.
looking at life, accident, and, I mean, this is
Yeah.
life, accident, and health, short-term disability, long-term.
Mhm.
Now, is
Yeah.
there the gap too now?
I did talk to him about the gap, and apparently, because there's like a 7-day waiting period or something before going into these things, the 12 weeks and the 12 weeks and the 90 days really isn't an issue,
Okay.
because you're just paying extra for another week that you don't really need. That's what they're telling me. So, you know, if there were ever a problem, we could self-insure that, because it's just a salary for a couple days, 8 days mostly, but it didn't appear to be a problem. So I would like to make a motion that we choose option 2, MetLife, for our life, AD&D, short-term disability, and long-term disability.
I support.
Okay, motion by Chockley, support by Beliger. Any more discussion on this? Again, do we need a roll call vote because this is money?
Contract.
We should, I
Yes,
guess.
do
Okay,
roll
roll
call.
call vote, please. Thank you.
Chick?
Yes.
Manley, yes. Otto?
Yes.
Chockley?
Yes.
Dockett?
No.
Beliger?
Yes.
Zelenak?
Yes.
Thank you, that passes. Okay, next item. We have a Synagro sludge hauler contract assignment approval.
Can we table this, or does this have to be done tonight?
It should be done. We got to do Barron's, Hendricks, Stewart, too. We
I
have
know,
to do
but
that
does it have to be done tonight, this one?
It will take it 2 seconds if we
Okay.
just do it.
Oh, Bill.
We don't
Yeah.
need.
Okay.
That's fine.
Okay, Mr. Maines, do you want to say anything really quick about this?
Just very briefly, currently, the township has an agreement with Synagro that goes through December of this year. Synagro is in the process of going out of business. Another company is taking over their book of business. This agreement is just simply an assignment of the agreement that the township is already committed to a different business, who it's my understanding is essentially being conducted by the same people who were doing the township's business previously.
Right. Okay.
And do we know, like, who signed the initial agreement with them?
I don't know the answer to that. I don't have a signed copy. Actually, we
What
never,
did you say?
I asked who signed the initial agreement with them. And do we have a signed copy in the office?
He was supposed to, yes, we were supposed to drop
Okay.
off one for me, but I don't have it in front of me, so.
I take it
Anyway.
you have looked over this contract?
we did not review the contract originally. I reviewed it
You reviewed this one?
in doing my review of the assignment and novation agreement, which is just the one-page agreement, which is towards the end there. Generally speaking, it would be our recommendation that when the township bids this out again in December, when the current contract terminates, that our office be given an opportunity to review the contract. There's some language in there that is not normally what we would recommend, but we weren't asked to review it when it was approved the first time. So our recommendation currently is, with only 6 months left on the contract, you're already obligated to the contract. You might as well just finish it out, and then the next time around, we'll renegotiate it. We made an attempt, Trustee Beliger, to try to renegotiate the terms with the new company, and they indicated an unwillingness to do so. So, in an effort to make sure that the sludge continued to leave the township.
Okay, thank you. Thanks.
Marlene?
Yes.
I think, didn't we make the board has made a policy that all contracts are reviewed by the attorney prior to signing? I would say that no matter if we have a township manager or not, we should continue with that policy.
We should.
Okay.
Do we have a policy?
I don't know.
I don't know.
I know that I don't think it's a written policy,
Yeah,
but we probably should have one.
Probably a common sense policy.
Okay. Mr. Dockett?
I wished when we have this kind of stuff that we would have the plant department people here, because I can't pick it out right now, but I did read this, and I think you had something in here that there was only one other company that does this in Michigan. But I remember when we did this contract, and our bridge was out, and they had to put this new bridge in, and they had to make it pretty strong because they used the biggest truck possible to haul the stuff. The less trips, the less money it was. But there are other companies, I think, that do it, but they probably don't have that big of trucks or something. So anyway, I think we should talk to the plant department people about how many other people do this job. So, maybe we can, you say how long?
Okay.
We gotta go 6 more months?
Yeah, it's until December of this year.
Okay, all right.
Right.
But anyway, something that I would like to put on the agenda, that we talk to the people at the plant department when, the next meeting.
Right. I've talked to Dan about it a bit, and there aren't a lot of companies that do this sort of thing.
There's only one other one, he
Right.
said, yeah.
Yeah, there aren't a lot of companies that do it, and
Okay.
the trucks were already sitting there inside the tanks where they're, to pump it out, and they just needed to get this done so they could move, get their trucks out.
Okay.
So anyway, okay, so we have a motion. I make a motion to accept the novation agreement. Assignment. The
And
assignment.
Authorize the supervisor to execute.
Okay, authorize the supervisor to execute the assignment. I don't even have the thing in front of me. Where is it? Thank you. The assignment, assumption, and novation agreement. Okay. With, between Michigan Agribusiness Solutions and Synagro Central.
I'll support.
Okay, motion by Chockley and support by Otto. Roll call vote, please.
Beliger,
Yes.
Dockett,
Yes.
Zelenak,
Yes.
Chockley,
Yes.
Manley, yes. Otto?
Yes.
Chick?
Okay, thank you. The last item is the Barron's Hendricks Stewart liability insurance contract renewal. Our rates are going down, so I don't know why we'd be too concerned about this. This is for it's a one-year renewal on our liability. Our rates are going down about 4,300. The rate is staying the same, but we got rid of some cars, so I'll make a motion that we enter into the contract with Barron's, Hendricks, and Stewart for liability insurance.
I'll support.
Okay, motion by Chockley and support by Otto. Any other discussion?
Did we get any bids on this?
No, this is a renewal. We did not get any other bids this year. We could go out for bid at any time, and I recommend we do that.
Well, I would
in the
like to have
future.
seen that to happen now, but,
Yeah, there wasn't enough time to go ahead and do
well,
that. at this
that's
point.
there's never enough time.
Honest to God, there is never enough time, I'll tell you, around here
Well,
with this,
well,
what's going on.
Okay, I'm not gonna support it because I don't believe in just handing these people these contracts. This is ignorant to do it that way, in my opinion.
Okay, we have a motion by Chockley and support by Otto. Any other discussion? Please call the roll, Clerk Manley.
Chick?
Yes.
Otto?
Yes.
Manley, yes. Chockley?
Yes.
Zelenak?
Yes.
Dockett?
No.
Beliger?
No.
Okay. All right, thank you, that passes too. The next item is second call to the public.
Better come up and say something.
Wake up, Dave.
Come on up. Thank you for sticking it out.
Hi, Dave Gordon. I was kind of curious because Mr. Dockett at 9:33 made a comment about when you get to the budget again, we will have a new leader by then. I assume he was referring to the manager, but your description of the job is that the manager is supposed to be a follower, following your directions, not a leader. Can you hear me okay, Mr. Dockett? Mr. Dockett, can you hear me all right?
Well, I can hear.
All right, good. I'm glad you can hear me
How
okay.
stupid you are, I can
Yeah,
understand
good.
that.
Glad you can. Thanks.
Yeah. And I know you're sorry.
You don't need to
but-
interrupt me. I was
but
just
you-
curious if you
but
could hear me or
can't-
not, Mr.
you know,
Dockett, that's all.
You can't.
You know, it's my
You
3
can't
minutes,
hear
Mr.
anything.
Dockett.
Well, don't
I've been
ask me
sitting there for
questions
3
then.
hours listening to you talk. It's my
Very
turn.
good.
My
You're
turn
sitting here
now.
because
My turn
You're
now.
a neighbor. and
My
you're-
turn now,
you
Mr.
wanna
Dockett.
run this board.
It's my turn.
Mr. Dockett. Mr. Dockett, it's time for our member of the public to speak. And
You might have
let's
told
provide
him. You might have told him, hey,
some
we
level
don't, we
of
don't answer
decorum.
questions. We don't answer questions.
In the description of what the manager's going to be doing, it's unclear as to whether or not he's going to be in charge of Mr. Chief Wagner or not. It's unclear whether they're going to, the job description includes taking care of this building or not. None of that's been clarified yet. It seems as if the board is having to cut all kinds of things out of the budget in order to afford a manager. $135,000, second most money being spent of anything in the line item that was on the PowerPoint presentation. We don't have money for this, we don't have money for that, we don't have money for the other, but we have money for a new employee that we don't need. The review process that you approved looks like it's going to be a hidden process. The reviews of his performance won't be available, just like they weren't available for Mr. Fink. By the way, we had a manager here for the last 40+ years, and I remember this 3 people on this board sitting there and talking about how that we had $400,000 that we had to spend. There was money that was available for spending, and now all of a sudden we don't have any money for anything. Why is that? Because we had a manager, and he managed to spend a whole lot of money while he was here. And now you're in a big hurry to get another manager. And you don't even have a job description that's coherent. I would suggest in the future that you have a personnel committee so that you don't have to sit here for an hour and a half talking about a contract that should have been just presented and approved. Because your personnel committee that hopefully you would trust would bring you a recommendation that you found suitable. Same thing with a budget committee. These things don't need to be hashed over here. Micromanaging, it's just, it's a sad state of affairs, and it's too bad that this community doesn't have it better together, and you're spending the money on the wrong things, in my opinion. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. Oh, Mr. Nelson, welcome.
I'm looking at a bunch of people who don't need respect. They don't deserve respect. They've lost my respect, and they're going to lose the respect of everybody in the community when they find out what's gone on here tonight. The reason you're fighting over every penny to fund this precious manager is because of management by the board. And I'm looking at you, Otto and Chick, and you, who's the only guy to object to him, is because no one managed the previous manager, and he buried you in debt, buried you in indebtedness, buried you in obligations. You never accounted for them. You have the temerity to ask these people who wanted 10,000 lousy bucks to fund a little land preservation study. You've got the temerity to ask them for a business plan. You never, ever managed the previous manager. You never managed the township budget. It was always just believe whatever the guy told you. And the even more sickening is that you're going to do it again, and you're going to blame Northfield Neighbors. You're going to blame everybody but yourselves. And I'm looking at you, Jacki, Otto, and Jana Chick. Wayne Dockett, you had some respect. People listened to you. You were the only guy who used to come to those old meetings and ask about line items when nobody else cared. Well, you've thrown it away. You became Jacki Otto's stooge. She's used you, and, well, there's no hope for this township, really. You've starved the township to try and get this manager in here. You're starving the employees. You're treating them like crap. You're sneering in their faces. And I'll leave 3 of you out because obviously it's a 3-4 board now. And you can say whatever you want afterward, Otto. You can talk till the sun rises. You're starving the senior programs, the help for the handicapped, that silly little bus that drives around. Unbelievable the way you're treating the people in this township to get your manager to win at any cost. And you flying that "don't tread on me" flag over your house with and sitting here and building more bureaucracy. It's the opposite of everything you said you believed in, so I guess when you were at those Northfield Neighbors meetings a long time ago, it was all a lie. You're starving everything but your own blind hatred of anything that's in your way to get this manager. I'd like to thank Mrs. Chockley for doing such a good job trying to present the budget, trying to show the options, trying to show a way to balance. And I'm sorry you're being stepped on.
Thank you. Okay. Opportunity for board member comments. Let's start with Janet Chick this time. Have anything tonight?
Wanted to wish everybody a happy 4th of July, and I wanted to tell our community to please keep our people that serve our country in mind during this 4th of July, the people that are serving now and have served and have sacrificed their lives so that we can have this kind of a meeting and make those kind of decisions. So happy 4th of July, and I will see you at the parade.
Thank you. Ms. Otto?
Yes, I do wish everybody a happy 4th of July. There are changes to the parade. I wanted people to be aware. Usually we had our registration at Vans Archery. It will be changed to the Whitmore Lake Elementary School. And we will have walkers starting at Timbercrest and Barker Road, and all other vehicles, anybody in vehicles will start back at the Whitmore Lake Elementary School. It will be out on Facebook. We'll get all the information out this week for anybody who's participating in the parade to make sure that they're aware of the changes. The main reason for making this change, and this is only temporary for this year, is because the 6 Mile Bridge will be out. A lot of traffic will be coming through town. Main Street and Barker are going to be our main thoroughfares, and we're trying to keep the traffic under control, and also because of Barker Road being partially under construction, we wanted to keep people off of the south side of the road. The other part is that we only want to keep the road closed for a short period of time, so it'll be closed. Main Street and Barker will be closed for an hour, and we don't want to keep it closed any longer than that.
Where does it end?
It will end at the Township Public Safety Building like it always has. It'll route through Regency like it always has, and then end here. And so it will be out on Facebook, so everybody will have the information and the map for our parade route. Huh?
Start time?
Start time is at 10 o'clock. So I'll go through the whole thing real quick. Paws will be in the parade this year. He will start at 9:45, start the parade out, go ahead of everybody because he has to leave sooner. And this way he can stop off and talk to people along the way and get pictures and everything. The parade route will start at 10 o'clock, so we're asking all participants in the parade to be at their lineup at 9:30.
Okay, thanks.
I don't know if you saw on Facebook, Jackie, yet, but I saw right before I got here that the blue barrels and the anchors were stolen from the fireworks barge.
I think I seen them down there. I think somebody found some of them. I don't know if they found all of them, but I did see somebody working on them as they were coming through town.
Okay, good. Did you know anything about that, Chief? Or?
No, you say the blue barrels from the barge were missing or
They
fell
were
off?
Stolen, supposedly.
They brought
And
the
the
barge
anchors.
over today, and I talked to Dennis this afternoon, he didn't mention anything about
Yeah, I don't know, I
it.
saw it on Facebook right before I got here,
Yeah.
so I guess it's my public plea that if somebody did steal them, return them. I mean, it's kind of crazy. Anyways, thank you, Marlene, for doing the budget. First
Thanks.
try. You did the best you could, so we'll deal with it from here. So everybody have a happy 4th of July. I'll see you at the parade.
Okay. Lenore?
Yes, I have a few comments. Again, I would like to thank our Madam Supervisor for the budget. She did present a budget that was balanced. I am disappointed on some of the items that are being talked about being removed. Even I do believe it was a good discussion. I personally don't think we should balance our budget on the employees, especially because they are the interface of our township. These are the people that the people see day in, day out, and they do a very good job for us. And it's a pleasure working with them. The other items, I do think, again, we should give back a little bit. As it stands today, the budget is balanced. I know these amendments are coming. I disagree. I think, we should still keep things moving a little bit forward, such as the parks and the land preservation. And yes, as Mr. Dockett pointed out, yes, I am on the board of PX. I do think we do very good service for the community, and I will not vote on that item because I am on the board, and most likely another board member of the PX will come and do the presentation. I would like to wish everybody a 4th of July. I think one of the nicest things we do is have the 4th of July parade, and it's always great to see all the people that come out and attend. And I'll see you at the parade. Thank you very much.
Mr. Dockett, do you have anything?
Yes, I'd like to say to buy and use local services and buy at the local stores. Have a happy 4th.
Thanks. Go ahead.
I'd like to, I very much enjoyed the meeting. It was excellent discussion that needed to happen. I'm glad we tackled this budget and have something under control. And regarding different things that are removed from the budget, they should be approved by the board before they are included in the budget, and that's what we came to understand tonight. Again, thank you. I do want to thank Marlene for her work on the budget, and thank the board again for that. Very good discussion. Donations to the township, Bark Park, farmland preservation, community garden. Please donate to that which interests you. There's a running race, a foot race on July 1st. I believe it starts at 8 a.m. Yep, there's a 5K and a 10K. And Janet Chick just touched on some very important things. This 4th of July, which she said is very sensitive. We have this gift of this nation and this liberty due to so many that have sacrificed, the ultimate sacrifice. So happy 4th of July. One last thing, regarding farmland preservation, it was suggested that I get a copy of this book to share with board members, Behind the Green Mask by Rosa Corey, Koire. So maybe something worth looking into. Again, thank you very much.
Thanks for the chocolate. I don't know who gave it to me, but.
Thank you.
Yep.
Thank you.
And
came in handy.
Yeah.
We needed it. Definitely.
And my last comment is, I'm convinced that we're going to do the right thing in the end here. Yeah, we have a lot of differing opinions on stuff. I really think we're going to take care of our employees. And we're going to do the right thing for our lands here too, and our community as far as the parks go, to provide the amenities that they're looking for. So I'm confident that that's going to happen. It's always hard getting there though, and especially kind of the dynamics of this meeting tend to be very difficult. And I'm dismayed at the lack of trust. I mean, we got to serve together. I don't see people doing underhanded things, but let's get along. Let's be kind to each other, and let's talk about things instead of yelling, and not all of us do that. But anyway, I look forward to working with you on this budget. I think it's going to be fine in the end, and we just need to be careful, and we need to be creative, and we need to look for positive ways to meet the needs of the community, and I think that will eventually happen. So, anyway, stay safe out there for the 4th of July, and
Madam
I'll see you
Supervisor,
next time.
Can I make a couple real
Yes.
quick comments?
Go ahead.
Just, nobody mentioned the fireworks. July 1st, Saturday, July 1st, fireworks will be starting around 10. Probably around 8:30, we will be closing Main Street between 8 Mile and Barker. We'll still try to park people after 8:30, but they'll have to come from the 8 Mile, and we'll get them into the new parking. We've planned that all out, so we think we have a pretty good plan. It's going to take patience. We expect a lot of people because it's the only fireworks that we know of that night. And to go along with my next comment about reminding everybody that 6 Mile Road is now closed over 23, and currently, if you looked out there, you would see tremendous backups on US 23 until 5 o'clock tomorrow morning. US 23 is closed at 6 Mile. So those of you trying to go home to the south, Dave, you're going to have fun getting home. My recommendation is to kind of use the back roads to get home, to stay out of the backups. So the detour for, if you were going from here, you'd have to go up to Barker to get on southbound and then sit in that traffic to get off at 6 Mile to Whitmore Lake Road, up to Territorial and then back on. If you're coming northbound, they're going to get you off at 6 Mile and then put you right back on at 6 Mile. And that goes till 5 o'clock tomorrow morning, and it'll be the same thing tomorrow night starting at 7 o'clock. They're tearing out the 6 Mile Road Bridge. So North Territorial is now completely opened, so that is somewhat helpful. But it's going to take patience for the next few months. So thank you.
Jennings Road going south would probably be pretty good.
We want to keep that a local secret, Mr. Dockett.
Okay.
No,
Can I just make
that's
one
true.
more comment?
Any of the back side roads.
One more comment.
Okay, Ms. Chick has one more comment.
Okay, I do also want to thank you for doing the budget. It was your first effort, and I know it was not an easy thing to do. And I also wanted to thank you for commenting that just because those things we asked to be removed from the budget does not mean that we don't support them. It just means that we're asking them to be out of the budget until we can approve them. That's
Okay.
all.
Yeah,
process.
and I do
Your list.
approve it. I do appreciate that as well, because I think everybody has the same intent, the same belief in supporting our township. I don't
about
think anything
process.
it's all about process.
Process.
Okay.
And I'm sure some people will find the way I speak word porridge, but it is what it is.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay, I move to adjourn.
Support.
Okay, all in favor? Aye. Aye, let's go.
They're yours. They were 1-1.
Same thing for him. Go Jennings Road.